moving on. Keep moving on. And they say I have a grim sense of humor.
Well, welcome back to week 2 of the SIDO Path2Pro Combine. The grind continues as some of the best up-and-coming talent battle it out to prove they've got what it takes to climb to the next level. Every draft, every team fight, it's all about growth, grit, and making a statement. I'm your host for the evening, Korak, joined today by the fantastic Quacks. Let's dive right in, my friend.
Yep, I got the glasses on, Koryak, so I'm ready to analyze every piece of this Block 3. Really looking forward to casting more Saito. I think that week number 1 was a really fun time and overall gave us a lot of good insight into the players participating in this combine, a lot of the strengths, a lot of the weaknesses as well, which is why I'm really grateful about those coaches being able to be there between the games. So I'm really looking, as this kind of progresses to see improvement on the players. Maybe it doesn't translate into wins. Maybe it doesn't translate into the best record, but things that we can see that might crop up in terms of thorns from week number 1, I want to see those pricked and out of them by around the end here of week number 4. And like you said, we are on to week number 2. So we are going to start to see, hopefully, just some more adaptation come out from the players. As I said this in the last stream, Koryak, but I don't picture Saito as kind of like a tournament, something to win, something to, get the best record in. To me, Saito is kind of like a a look back almost, a improvement on how far you've come from the beginning of the year and trying to get that extra little boost of competition going into 2026, because a lot of people that are watching the Saito Combine have the ability to maybe look at you and say, all right, I want you for my team, or I want you to take that next step, and can definitely make that happen. So I think it's not necessarily about the win-loss. It is about the little things. It is about the players themselves. And looking at the players themselves, I do think that today, Koryak, we have a pretty stacked lineup. So I'm looking forward to it.
A lot of big names, I think, to watch out for. Sorry, breathing. A lot of big names to watch out for, and I'm really excited to see what they've got going for us. I haven't been able to catch all of the Combine myself. I've been busy on the back end, but what I have seen and what I have been able to cast, it's just been absolutely phenomenal. And yes, I definitely agree with you. This is not necessarily about the wins. The wins, sure, are important and they're nice for bragging rights, but this is purely about improvement. We're looking for those thorns you were talking about, pricking them, taking them out, you know, I think that's the most important thing to watch out for going forward, and I think the coaches and all the players know that as well. First couple of bans are out though, Quacks. We've got Zoe, Trundle, Hui, nothing unusual there in my opinion. Azir hovering for one of the final bans on, I believe we're going with Team A and Team B. Orianna and Wukong, all very solid, all very meta picks, and I've got to say, I am sad every time Trundle gets banned. He is one of my favorite junglers just to kind of watch, you know, and maybe it's because there's a special place in my heart. I started off with him in top lane, but you know, I'm a little sad to see him go.
Yeah, they'll probably
Fair
want to
enough.
tank off of it. I'm thinking like Sion is a possibility here, but instead they're probably just going to deny Tahe his Nidalee. This is one of Tahe's best champions. For those of you who do not know, Tahe is, I believe it's pronounced Jeonbu in solo queue, rank number 2 last time I checked, and Nidalee OTP extraordinaire. It's been banned against him in basically every single match that I have personally seen from him, and we see it's not on the ban list here for Team A, which means they are going to first pick it, deny Tahe his best champion. And I think this is really cool for a player like him, right? He is probably the most unknown player in this entire Combine, doesn't have a ton of competitive experience. The last time we saw him was on the Delirious Hellhounds in the open qualifiers, so it has been a while since that team was a name spoken by the caster crew. So that means that a lot of question marks circle around this player. And I think the biggest question mark is, how can he flex outside of the Nidalee? What can he do outside of this character that he got ranked 2 in the solo queue ladder on? What is his ceiling against some of these other junglers like Shimmer, who have been, you know, touted as these mechanical players?
Absolutely. And speaking of mechanical, we're going immediately into Rise for the second pick, and Yanara and Zen for the other side. So very solid pick for Zen. Yanara is still very, very powerful. As far as I understand, the only things they really nerfed were her movement speed just a while back, and I believe her slow. So her damage is still pretty close to the same. I'd be very surprised if we don't get some sort of enchanter in order to help out Yanara, but the hook champions are still very, very powerful. So, you know, there's still a pretty good chance we're getting these meta picks, Quacks.
And I'm actually kind of surprised that Team A didn't opt for a tank. When you have the Trundle ban, I feel like that is just a no-brainer to go for. Obviously, you do want to take away that Nidalee, so that felt like a good B1. But here on 2-3, I'm surprised we're instead opting to go for things like a Jax, especially because even if you don't have that tank, you want that guaranteed lockdown so that the Nidalee Spear can connect onto these targets. We saw that theme translated with the Rise, who has that Room Prison. Jax, though, does have the stun, so there is still that possibility for the crowd control and the ability to synergize with that Nidalee pick. But I am a little bit concerned on the front line here for Team A so far, especially when, like you said, Koryak, we do have a pretty good damage profile on Team B. We're talking about the Yunara, but now joined up with the Trundle and the Xin Zhao, they can deal a good amount of upfront burst. And I think if you are Team A, you're really looking at something that can just tank a lot of that. And the only other role that really can offer you that kind of tankiness is in support. So I'm looking at some kind of engaged support to really be there for Team A here on 4-5.
Absolutely. And somebody like, if you're looking for a bit more defensive with a tiny bit of engage, Brom's still on the table, Nautilus is still on the table, Rel's still on the table. There's so many good options for them to grab and to pick up that I think play really, really well into this. But I do agree with you. I think Team B is looking very, very scary between Yanara, between Zen, between Rumble. And I think so far, all three of these champions, they're not like Volibear, where it's just all forward motion, all the time. Not a crazy amount of utility. Sure, you can ult backwards with your ultimate if you really want to, but for the most part, that champion's all forward motion. And we've got a little bit of change around here between the Rumble, the Yanara, and then of course the extremely defensive ultimate, the Crescent Guard on Zen, which is just so powerful right now in this meta. Next couple of bans are coming out though. Looks like we're worried about the supports on the other side for Team A. So we've banned
Samick
Morgana.
5 banned. Yeah, they're really focusing down the mid lane here. Samikin has been one of the big banes, I think, of this combine. The man, I know we talked about how win rate doesn't matter, but Samikin is 6-0. This guy has not lost a single game, and he's had a majority of the games that he's played. A large portion of the bans have been levied against him. So to see him still perform when a lot of his pool that he's known for is taken away, I think is really impressive and just kind of gives us a really big question mark onto what he's going to play. Now, Team B, they did go for the Seraphine, which can flex into the support role, can also flex into mid. But like we also talked about, I think for the same thing with Team A where they need engage, Team B also are wanting for some engage. You do have the Xin Zhao, but I think the ability for someone like a Rel that you talked about, Koryak, to follow up with that audacious charge is really important. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for on these last couple of picks for both teams. Team A going to go for the Tristana, so just furthering that engage and furthering the importance of having an engage heavy support. Leona is good. Rel is good. And whoa.
And Bessa is a pick. Okay. Any thoughts, Quacks?
Is it Jack
I don't know.
Support? Wait. Hang on,
maybe was that a support?
Was that a mispick? No, it's right apparently.
Okay.
Is there something that
I don't even know what's going on here?
No, I don't get it. Okay, so yeah, maybe it's Nidalee support. I mean, you have the heal. Wow, that's interesting. So that would imply that it's Jack's jungle and then Ambessa top lane. Jack's jungle, to Team A's credit, actually does do really well into a champion like Xin, who is largely auto attack based, right? Obviously, having that Q and not being able to deliver the damage while you have the knockup can be a bit of a sore point here for Tahe. But I'm just really engrossed by this bot lane 2v2 here from Team A, because you do have a lot of skirmishing potential with Nidalee. Obviously having more damage abilities because of the transformation mechanic, but it's just a really uncommon pick and not something that I would expect someone like Manui to go for. I mean, this guy was an AD carry at first, and then he went to support, and then he went to top lane. This man was not a jungler. As far as I know, I haven't seen him play Nidalee once, so this is a huge curveball going into this first game, Koryak.
Well, and I think maybe what they're going for, other than just subversion of expectations, which can win you games or at least give you some sort of netted advantage into these various different fights and objectives and sort of everything going forward. But, looking at Team A, we've got the Nidalee, we've got a lot of pin down and burst damage. So what I think Team A is going to be going for is I think they want to grab some sort of advantage, either whether it's just outright take someone out before the fight starts or just poke them down. Nidalee is still a very, very powerful champion. It looks like it is going to be Nidalee support. So Nidalee support and okay, that makes a little bit more sense for me. I was trying to figure out where she was going to go. Jungle's not a bad option, but I do like Jax a little bit better for the jungle option because this team doesn't have a lot of beef, and with Jax being in the jungle, this will give him a bit more gold than, I would assume anywhere else he needs to be, especially if he's having any sort of issues. It'll give him time to farm up and come out when he's ready.
All right, and I am getting word from our producer that we had a Nidalee support yesterday too, so I don't know what happened or what the coaches are cooking, but I'm willing to try the food here in game number 1. That's for damn sure. Looking though away from the Nidalee and kind of looking at Team B and their win cons and their setup, I feel like a lot of this is going to come down to really knowing your breakpoints, right? Really knowing your item spikes. You do have a little bit of that early game threat with the Xin Zhao and some of that early burst from Hoarder on the Rumble. But I think a large part of this win condition is built around Samikin and Enthralled being able to get those 2 to 3 items, particularly Enthralled on that Yunara. That's really when that champion comes online, and being able to push the envelope forward after that. So I think that the idea here is that Tahe gets ahead early, and a lot of the team tries to facilitate it with pushing in mid and top to look for potential invades onto Shimmer. And then Tahe slowly but surely kind of fades into the background while Samikin and Enthralled take over. At least I would expect that to be the way this team B comp plays out, kind of that bridge of power being transferred from the jungler to his AD carry and to his mid lane and top lane.
Absolutely. And I think sort of honing down on what happened to Yunara, because at one point she was like the T1 pick. She was just extremely powerful. Everybody was either wanting to ban her or take her on blue side. And with the fact that they haven't nuked her damage, I like the addition here for Alistar the more I think about it, because you don't need the movement speed and the slow if they're knocked down. You've got Encore to follow it up. You know, you've got a Beefcake in order to absorb a whole bunch of the damage. So, you know, even though Yunara doesn't have the movement speed, their lane phase might be a little bit difficult depending on just how it goes. I don't know how the Nidalee support is supposed to work out, but it can be quite deadly to go into, because I've got to imagine with the Alistar and the Yunara Enthralled, of course, playing that, I've got to worry about the poke damage, because Nidalee is going to provide a lot of that early in, right? And this is an all-in bot lane for the most part. They can farm, but they don't really have an insane amount of sustain. Sure, the heal is there for Alistar, but it's just not as strong as, say, something like, you know, Soraka or Nami or someone to that extent. So the poke should really help them, at least in the lane phase. And then the late phase, I think the team fight is going to favor Enthralled and the Alistar.
Yeah, absolutely. With how much AoE damage Team B have, I think whereas Team A are a little bit more singular in their approach and being able to find one pick onto one target, could create kind of a difficulty for Team A post 25 minutes when those lane assignments get to be a little bit more blurry and you're getting more numbers to a lot of these neutral objectives. Last thing I do want to mention, though, Koryak, in relation to this game, a common trend that I have been seeing with Saito for a lot of these matches has been that these teams seem to struggle with closing out games. And I do think that a lot of the times the team with the superior scaling often comes out ahead simply because they have more time to get those items, more time to hit those breakpoints. And like we talked about in the draft, Team B do have some insane scaling. So I think it's going to be up to Team A to really close this game out cleanly. But that has been a trend that hasn't been bucked, at least not a lot, in week number 1. So as we're on to the Rift, really looking at this early game to be dominated by Team A and Team B to reel it in until those breakpoints hit for their Seraphine and their Yunara.
Absolutely, and already starting off with a little bit of harassment, just Nidalee doing Nidalee things, but she's going to run directly into Enthralled, so already looking for at least a small amount of an engagement, and that's not the worst strategy because, you know, I think you can accurately make the argument Alistar's not really a champion at level 1. Sure, he's got a knockback, but that's
he's got
really
like
about
half
it,
an ability.
Yeah. And once he hits level 2, it's a lot like Leona. He finally just flips on a switch and comes on. He's like, okay, now I got to worry about the cow. But, you know, looking for that early harassment, Nidalee knew their advantages going into that fight. And so they tried to get what poke they could off. They did get a reset off. They weren't able to extend the fights, but I think it was just sort of an opening salvo, a jab to sort of figure out how the other side's feeling.
As we can see, both bot laners are going to be starting on their side of the map. We've been seeing a pretty common trend as well, where the AD carry, especially on blue side, sometimes will roam up and 1v1 the top laner of red, and then the top laner of blue will join the support and kind of just give more gold into the AD carry for the first few moments of this laning phase. But I like what Team A are doing, going for the 2v2 instead, knowing that they are stronger and that this is the time to really harass Yunara out of some of this CS and not give them a free lane where they can just be content with scaling.
Absolutely, and every little bit of poke and damage you put on Alistair makes it harder and harder and makes him think twice about going all in, using his combinations, especially when we have a Tristana. We've got Sushi on Tristana. Tristana's so slippery for a million different reasons, and then, you know, still has an insane amount of burst damage. A bit of a flex pick, too, for Tristana. Still can go mid, in my opinion. Obviously not going to happen there with the Rise, but I'm happy to see Tristana make a visit back down bottom. I still think she's a very powerful, and I think she's good into this combo, at least early game.
She's also got really good synergy with the Grubs, and I think that that's pretty unanimous across the board here for Team A. You've got the Jax, right? You've got a lot of tower-taking ability on this team, so I do think that topside objective should be in the crosshairs, or kind of on the docket here for Team A to take when it spawns in a little bit. But for the time being, it does seem like this top side is being well contained by Team B. Samikin is obviously going to have superior range over the Rise that Adam is piloting, so I expect him to leverage that as much as possible. And if he can get some kind of priority and maybe look for an aggressive play onto Shimmer, I think that is the big goal here for Team B in these first few minutes.
Absolutely, and Seraphine knowing that she has a little bit of an advantage on Rise early on. Once Rise gets some mana flowing and has either Lost Chapter or something else in his arsenal to help him out, he's much more oppressive. You can see how low his mana is right now. Seraphine holding on to that third ability, looking for the stun, which is something Rise almost always has to watch out for. Even if he Rune Prisons the other side, Seraphine can stun him from much further away. So it is a bit of a spicy matchup, but I've got to say, I'm really happy to see more and more Rise. I'm a very old player. I used to see a good amount of Rise, and for the longest time, Rise was very much either he was super powerful or he was not a champion. And
he's a pro jail
champ. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and for me, I think this is the first time I think I can say that, like, he's kind of in the middle where, you know, like where he's not super overfed and he's not particularly broken. You know, at least in my opinion. I know he can still get a lot of really great movements off, but I'm happy to see the state of the game, at least for Rise.
Yeah, Rise is a champion with pros and cons, right? Pros being, like you said, the scaling on him, and also the fact that he builds Catalyst, one of the better mid-game components of League of Legends, but the weakness obviously being that his ultimate has
Alistair going in, looking for an angle, absolutely chunky Nidalee going down to about half HP as Sushi throws a bomb down on Enthralled, getting a little bit of trade back and forward. I think the damage might have been a little bit well spent on Alistair, and just sort of because you're going to expect him to go in over and over, and you're going to poke him as much as you can, so I feel like spending as much damage as you can, but maybe the goal is to focus Nidalee on that damage, but, you know, it seems a little bit unfocused, at least so far.
I also think that Manui has no problem getting aggressed onto, because he does have that heal, right? Just being able to kind of self-sustain your HP bar back up to not one-shottable levels is an advantage of this champion in the support role. As we are seeing Adam with Prio for what feels like the first time of this game, finally getting that and just helping his jungler out with the dragon. And you can see that Team B, they want to move, they want to try and make something happen, but they don't have the setup. They're going to go in anyway, though.
Zen looking for an angle. Alistair going to get at least one knockup. The damage is so close here on the Drake. It does get taken down. Zen's able to pick it up and steal it. Now they're looking for a kill there on Shimmer. Shimmer looking for the stun back and forward. Trying to lock down the Alistair. Encore coming in, locking two of them down. Only two left so far. The numbers are definitely in the side of Team B as Alistair goes back in, gets a knockup. That's already feats of warfare, and they're out for a fourth kill. Sushi just barely able to escape, and that's 0-3 at 6 minutes, and feats of warfare already claimed.
And you gotta think Samikin has some kind of karaoke training, because that song attracted all the Team A players right into the meat grinder of Team B. It's 2 to the Seraphine. It's 1 over to the Yunara. And these scaling threats are accelerated right out of the gate here, Koryak.
Absolutely, and just such a phenomenal break, and it honestly flies in the face of what I was thinking was going to happen. I thought, you know, we were going to go for the Void Grubs and just kind of give up the Drake. That seems to be a lot of times the standard policy, but Team A is really going for, I can have my cake and eat it too in this first game.
Really are. Really good snap engage there by Jumbu, and a good follow-up by Samikin is Enthralled.
Thrall going down about half HP. Zen coming there in the background. Crescent Guard gonna knock Sushi into Enthrall. This is exactly what I need, but they're gonna jump over to the other side. Nidalee needs to buy a little bit more time, but here is Alistair right where you don't want him. A bit of healing there on Sushi as she trying to go, takes down Enthrall, but Enthrall just has too much HP. The heals back and forward are just not enough for them to deal with, and that's going to be a dead Tristana.
And this is beautiful. A crashed wave here for Team B. An angle to reset, get those items ahead of these grubs coming up in about 30 seconds. This is exactly what you want if you're Team B, but you're looking for more.
Absolutely. Seraphine's got this gold, and they're looking for some sort of angle. Alistair once again finding the knock up. There's the stun there. The root locking down on Seraphine, trying to do a good chunk as Zen has to back off. They're looking for their advantage. They need their items. There it is. Tristana coming in. This could tip the scale. Zen's got to get out. The flash coming forward as Nidalee goes in, picks up a kill. Rise throwing down an ultimate, which ultimately does nothing, but at the very least, that's going to be one kill on the side of Team A.
I felt like Team B were out of there. They expended all of their CC tools to try and catch up to Jianbu and Rovex initially. They weren't able to do so, but then Jianbu makes the call to go back in. And I don't think accounted for Sushi's ability to reset and then give Team A numbers advantage. So what results is him going down. It's only going to be just the 2 grubs, though, for Team A. I mean, they claim the objective, but they don't get the full stack of it. We talked about earlier, Koryak, how impactful this can be when you have a Tristana, when you have a Jax, when you have all of these side laners and all of these champions that synergize well and work well at taking turrets. This objective can really go a long way in pushing those scaling threats forward. You don't need the kills. Maybe this is all you actually need, whereas Team B, they needed those kills 100%.
Absolutely, and the control for Team A to just sort of wait and then see an angle to take out Janobu and get that all-important Void Grubs is going to be so nice, because even though Team A is behind, one of the best ways to come back, Quacks, when you are behind, you know, is to not fight them and to macro. And now with those Void Grubs, they can do that a bit better. They can offset the gold advantage that Team B has.
The question is, how are they going to allocate their lane assignments now to, you know, make use of those grubs? We still got about 4.5 minutes until the plates fall. Is Calculus.
Ooh, Dr. Calculus gonna take an ultimate there,
right
to the face. One shot comes forward, but it's just not gonna be enough as Rumble needed one more AA barrier coming in there. I'm sorry, not barrier coming in there right there, but shield coming in there to absorb at least some of the damage. But Dr. Calculus able to walk away. I think that's 2 flashes down. Yeah, 1 for Rumble and 1 for Ambessa. Oh. Nidalee taking at least some damage, but like you said, she does have the heal ready to go, so she can do a little bit of sustain. There's going to be the ultimate there by Sushi, back and forward. Enthralled is definitely a threat, someone to watch out for, and I'm happy they didn't commit too hard, because here's Janobu, but maybe they're going to prove me wrong. Zen coming in there in the background, trying to lock down Nidalee. Nidalee going to absolutely get destroyed and taken down as Sushi's just kind of left here holding the bag. They overstepped their boundaries. They did not feel the disturbance in the force, and the gold lead increases more on the side of red side.
We could see, I feel like there could have been an angle to maybe dive Sushi, but they want to make sure that they are seamlessly transitioning these swaps. Hoarder is on this top side now, and they want to make sure that they get someone on that bot side and someone in that mid lane so that these scaling threats in Adam and Ambessa are not actually free farming a Samakin.
Shimmer looking for an angle. They're gonna get the stun there on Samakin. Samakin does get isolated and destroyed. The shutdown going to Dr. Calculus, going specifically on Ambessa, has got to help. That is going to be one of your best skirmishing champions. And, you know, like I said before, I think the team fight power, the just, alt-right duking out team fight power is on the other side. Rise ulting in and trying to lock down the Rumble. Nidalee trying to do the exact same thing. There it is, the Rune Prisoner coming in, but do they have the damage, and can he escape to the tower? He's looking for it, and it looks like he's just gonna go, but no, we're actually gonna dive for it and grab it. Okay, I didn't expect the dive, but Nidalee is very confident with their heal, very confident with taking these this damage in order to pick up more and more kills in the top lane as the Drake falls to red side.
Yeah, you have to think that the added damage the heal provides maybe helping out to secure that kill before Hoarder hits his tower range. As good couple of kills being picked up here by Team A. Initially, they got Samakin when his flash was barely still on cooldown. His double TP, so maybe some more action.
Once again, Pudding coming in, trying to lock them down, and Bessa is here for this fight. They can duke it out. There is going to be entirely a 4v3, but still, that tower does hurt at 11 minutes,
wave.
and I think ultimately they're going to back off.
Yep, they don't have a wave. Good roaming there by Rovex. Manages to put himself in the middle of the action, dissuades the dive, and a lot of members of Team A, I think, committing to that, which is going to result in a canceled recall.
Oh, Pudding actually.
Shimmer's mad.
Will it fall on the other side? Rumble dropping his ultimate down as Shimmer gets taken down in the top lane, isolated, and that's actually going to be a bit of a 1-for-1 trade.
That's still worth it for Team B. I mean, that's support for jungler. I would take that any day of the week. Shimmer really not happy that his recall got canceled there. Because, yeah, like I said, Team A forcing themselves on toward the top side means that you can see Samican on that bot side, I believe, picked up a plate, and Thrall is just perfectly free farming. So these scaling win conditions on Team B, even though they got the kills early, which helped them accelerate. Ooh, Thrall barely making it out there. But still going to hold on to that flash. So has that defensive summoner spell in tow, but Hoarder does not.
Oh, unfortunately, and Bessa just not able to pick up the kill there on Hoarder, as Alistair still just sort of lurking around in the jungle, looking for some sort of angle to happen. And yes, indeed, Samican walking away from that, or I'm not sure if that was Samican or Enthralled walking away from that, absolutely just so close to going down. And same thing with Hoarder. Hoarder's trying to bait it out. They know how low they are, and they're just trying to buy time here with the help of Pudding.
Hoarder is... a lot of these spears are connecting here on Diminui. He's going to look for maybe one more, but Rovex is going to not let that happen. Good guy support. He's going to let his top laner reset. And now I feel like he's kind of jailed up here. We can see that Hoarder doesn't have teleport, which means this wave is it's probably going to need to be held here by the Alistar. He's going to be wasting a lot of time playing around the Rumble's win conditions. Also, will cancel the recall, but this means that there's going to be a lack of numbers for Team A on the bot side, and we can see that off the resets, a lot of them on Team A are going toward that part of the map, maybe trying to look for some kind of an aggressive play. You have to imagine the Hex Gates as well going to accelerate that possibility by circumventing the movement that you need to take to actually get to those places. So they're playing the map pretty well, and I like what they're doing, knowing that just this small little thing of Alistar isn't in the bot lane, we have numbers, can maybe open up a window for them to push this game forward.
Absolutely, and I pointed out in draft how important having an advantage going into the fights is going to be for A side, and they're really playing into that strength. We're getting a little bit of a vision war back and forward, Pudding maybe biting off a little bit more than they can chew, but ultimately nothing real significant other than just a vision battling back and forward. But looking at the score so far, we're 4-6, and the gold lead is no longer anywhere significant. I think it was 2K beforehand, so at the very least A has caught up in a lot of different ways, and they've done that through some of the fights before and after objectives. Speaking of, Shelly's up on the map, so that will be something we're looking forward to. I think that'll be another powerful tool if Team A can get their hands on. I expressed how important macro is going to be for this team, and I think they know that.
They absolutely do, and they also know that if they can get this Herald, they can probably push Team B off the Dragon as well, and, you know, stacking those continuously could open up a win con for them. On top of the scaling that they already have, could put Team A in a really tight bind that they don't want to be a part of. But we can see that Team B are reading this. They know that Herald would prevent them from probably getting onto Soul Point. So they're doing everything in their power just to hold control of this topside river. And now maybe potentially baiting a fight as they do start the objective.
Absolutely, and I think this is a good strategy here for Team B as they pick up a kill already. Nidalee getting a little bit too close, getting themselves killed, and getting Jax taken out as well. So not only is Team B going to get their hands on the neutral objective because Ryze is in the bot lane, but they're able to pick up 2 snacks for their trouble.
This is so good for Team B. I mean, you get the kill onto the Jax, you put him behind. He'll probably be able to reset and get on toward that bot side along with his Ryze, but I think Adam as well maybe wants to teleport before this fight, and Hoarder might not let that happen, as he is actually going to get away via the phase rush. But yeah, Herald secured here for Team B means that they can place this in mid, they can place this in top, they can place this really wherever they want to, and they can force Team A to respond while they take control of the bot side river, because you can see both teams don't really have a lot of attention paid toward that side.
Absolutely, and you know, keeping it out of the hands of the other side, who you know we talked about for the macro, is something to watch out. Dr. Calculus, have to worry about. Genova's coming in. Shelly going to do the exact same thing, going back and forth, doing a good chunk of damage. This should be all but a kill. Ignite come down, Flash coming out, but it looks like they just don't want to commit too much as Adam comes there on the top lane, and they do try to isolate, take him down. Dr. Calculus going back in. Shelly going to get taken down. Jack's going to fall to pieces. Lots of back and forward as a 1-for-1 happens in the top lane, despite Team B having the advantage.
I mean, Team B, I think, slightly misplaying that dive as now Samkin maybe in a little bit of trouble.
Coming down on Sammykin, Nidalee looking for an angle. Alistair trying to buy plenty of time. Is indeed going to happen. There it is, Encore, but it's going to miss. Adam coming in for Adam. Rune Prison trying to lock down the Alistair. Alistair taking so much damage. Nidalee in, Nidalee back in. Rise on the back line, trying to lock him down. Going to catch an Alistair. Can he get Sammykin? Yes, he can. It's so close. Nidalee looking for the angle, but look at all of the damage from Sammykin. Just barely skirting out. It's so hard to walk forward into Seraphine as she picks up a kill on the support, and it's just her and Rise mano a mano duking it out.
Mortal Kombat!
Absolutely. I hear the theme song now, but Sammykin, I think, overstayed their welcome.
Oh, come on! No one's
Not that they had a choice. Ultimately, Rise, Adam is going to pick it up, but what a valiant effort, Quacks.
I mean, it was the Rune Prison that ended the fight then and there, but Team A finally managed to pick up a second onto Sammykin. And Adam as well, I think, really carving himself out as a very pronounced carry here for Team A. He's actually 4-1, so he's been matching this Seraphine at essentially every turn, and now he's got the Roa on top of the Seraph, so this is a really big spike for Rise. And one that I want to see Team A try to push forward. Look for fights around this guy. Use his ultimate to get some of these flanks into and maybe circumvent vision around these objectives and continue stalling out the soul point here for Team B. Because although you picked up that most recent Hextech Dragon, Team B are still 1 away from getting soul point, and I think really putting you on a timer. Remember, when we talk about scaling threat, I still am a firm believer that Team B do have that in their back pocket. So being able to deny the soul on top of that would be, I think, at the top of their priority list.
Absolutely, and they've done that with grabbing one Drake of their own early on. Just taking one Drake buys you so much time. So I'm not real surprised by that. I'm not real surprised if we're going to see a true fight here for the third Drake. We know how important that's going to be, but the positioning is going to be so important, and most importantly, the positioning and the control of the banana bush. I'm a firm believer of, you know, he who controls the banana controls the neutral objective, and I think that is true.
That sounds like the laner version of he who controls the scuttle crab controls the universe. And honestly, I respect the Koryak.
It's the Kroger's brand version. We didn't have money for that one.
No, we did not. This is North American League of Legends. What's money? As Otacon has spawned on the top side this time. So that creates kind of an interesting conundrum, and one where I think the winning team might find it difficult to get all the way to the other side of the map and maybe take a dragon to tie in with that and really sing home that objective fight. You have to believe that particularly Team A don't want to let that happen. They really would like to go for this Otacon before Dragon spawns in about a minute 30 so that they don't have to deal with the trade of maybe giving up Soul Point.
Absolutely, and I want to say the Alistair here has done a phenomenal job just zoning and positioning over and over. Fantastic knockups after fantastic knockups, and just the rotations have been super great. And it's not stopping anytime soon. But that's not to take away from Nidalee. Nidalee has been using her speed to her advantage and trying to irk out some sort of advantage for the other side. A little bit of reset on Otacon, a little awkward, but I don't think Team B wants to fully fight this. I think this is a bait. Yeah,
I think they're trying to force a fight because we talked about how singular Team A's damage composition is, right? You don't have a ton of AoE, meanwhile Team B do, so
Prison coming down, Alistair blowing his ultimate, knocking Jax directly into the other line. The exhaust coming down, they're trying to lock down the jungler. Here comes the TP as Shimmer gets so close to getting out, but it's not going to happen as Enthralled picks up a kill. Now,
Calculus
there in the back line. Lots of damage back and forward. Dr. Calculus trying to buy some time, but the Encore comes in and takes them out. Adam goes in, but I think it's too little too late, trying to get out with his own TP, and a double kill on the side of Samikin, and that autocon, that all-important autocon, is gonna fall to Team B, Quacks.
And good old hammer and anvil tactic there by Team B, and it's Porter. That is the final hammer strike to destroy Team A. He gets the flank onto Adam. There's really nothing that Team A can do to try and save their carry rise, and they all go down with him. Sushi survives. Now you can see all of them are resetting. They are back on the map, and they need to rush down this dragon like their game depends on it, because it just might, Koryak.
Absolutely. Shimmer and Nidalee making it there before anything. Now we are getting a TP. The Banana Bush is firmly in the control of A side, but this is a lot of gold to deal with. 2K may not sound like a lot, but with who it's on, they've got to watch out for it. And I think the objective's just going to fall to the other side. Yes, indeed. They were able to pick it up. That's really unfortunate. That's going to delay the game even further. Jax, once again, getting caught in an unfortunate position here by Alistair, going over the wall, thanks to the help there of Nidalee at the very least. But really, really got to watch out for it. Shimmering's positioning hasn't been the best in game number 1, and I think compounding on that has been the Alistair.
Absolutely. I think Rovex has been looking for a lot of these picks, and a lot of the victims of those headbutts have been the Jax. So a good target selection overall, because I think a lot of the fights that have been really relevant over the course of the last few minutes has been around objectives, right? So being able to target those junglers really should be on the highest priority for both of these teams. And that's really where the difficulty for Team A comes in, right? I mean, your pick tools really aren't there, especially when you compare Manui to Rovex. It's just very hard to find Jiambu, especially when he has that Crescent Guard to just be able to knock you away. So you've seen that time and time again. It has, however, not mattered all that much, as Team A have still managed to get the last couple of dragons, thus, you know, tying up the sole win condition for both of these teams. But now I feel like Team B, they don't really have anything to trade it with, right? The first objective, the first dragon that they gave away, they did so for a tower dive on top side and for a bunch of gold on that part of the map, which, you know, helped into the Otacon, which they traded for the other dragon. Right now, there's nothing really to distract them, right? Maybe a Baron, but I think now is really when they need to start focusing on that bot side objective, and I feel like they're ahead in the game right now.
Coming in. Dr. Calculus looking for an angle, but it looks like he's going to go from aggressor to aggressee as he picks up an Encore and takes up a healthy amount of damage as Rumble absolutely melts his health bar. Lots of back and forth. Geno's getting so close to going down. Adam a little bit too close to this fire. Jax going back in, looking for an angle, going to get a stun on 2. There's still a little bit of life here. Tristana dishing out damage, looking for the angle, but it looks like Team B just not dying. Tristana still able to pick up 1 kill. Manui and Sushi still looking for an angle. This might be a 2v4, but I think Tristana wants it. Manui going over the other side. Getting one back on the other side. Their number advantage is a little bit more in the favor, and they still have to watch out for Tristana. But the thing you got to keep in mind is Samikin hits like a truck. This is an 8-2 Seraphine.
The Seraphine is just waiting in the wings, preparing for the moment when Sushi looks for some kind of angle to rocket jump in and then one-shots him. But he's not going to do it. He's not going to commit, and both of these teams are going to walk away, though Team B, I would say, the slight victors in that exchange, as they are the ones that still think get a lot of these priority targets. Shimmer in particular, once again, the victim of Team B's focus. He tries to make the hero play, but he didn't really have the backup, and so Team B just melt him, even through the buffed up, beefed up Grandmaster's might. The tankiness is not enough. Dragon going to be up in a little bit over 1 minute and 30 seconds. So now I think we're going to be seeing both of these teams really posture around this bot side, like right now.
Stepping, Crescent Guard going to pop its way down. His Holder pops out an ultimate of his own. And Dr. Calculus, unfortunately, once again, gets caught in a bad position. Rise blowing his ultimate. Adam trying to get out of there. I don't really blame him for that. I fully expected Team B to go for it, but it looks like they just decided they didn't want to get their hands on it. The nice thing is the objective is not up, just like Quack said. About a minute and 20 seconds left on the clock for that objective. So even though Dr. Calculus went down, he should be up for these following objectives. We can bait the Nasher, though, if that's what they're looking for.
Seems like that is on the cards for them. We talked earlier about maybe trading the Dragon for the Baron, but I still think Team B would want to focus down the Dragon because they don't want to give Team A the soul point possibility to match their innate scaling. So I have to imagine this Baron is just a Trojan horse. I mean, you've got Hoarder on the bot side. I think the preparation around Dragon is just better overall. You can siege control of mid and then look to pincer Team A, especially with Adam having to use that ultimate, that Realm Warp, means that Ryze and the rest of Team A, frankly, don't have a way to really pick you off and look for some kind of a flank.
Absolutely, and Team B is really trying to set up some sort of
They
ambush,
started
and they're going to
Nashor.
find it on Manua. The root coming in, absolutely chunking him as Nashor has begun. We do
I don't
have the
think they
damage
see it.
advantage on Team B. Yeah, I don't see an angle where they can get their way in on it. They've got to suspect that it's starting with just how many resources they've spent just doing there, and Nashor's just going to fall almost for free.
Yeah, I mean, Jumbo actually went around with the Wind Become Lightning and then used the Audacious Charge through the Herald Vision. Then we saw Enthralled was hitting it from the side, so I don't think Team A had any inkling of suspicion that that was actually being focused down. So they basically sneaked that Baron away, and there's no trade on the other side. We can see that Shimmer is in the area, but he should not try to commit for that Dragon, as now they're moving down.
Manui having to blow a flash in order to escape the all-encompassing Rubelix, doing a good chunk of
Oh!
damage. Coming in once again, locking Dr. Calculus, so much damage that Seraphine absolutely chunks in conjunction with this Rumble, and that's not what you want to see, is that T2 gets targeted, and the objective is still up here in the background. Sure, Ryze is pushing top lane, but at what cost, Quacks? At what cost?
They've got the Seraphine here, 3 items complete, including Moonstones. They're plenty healthy to just keep on sieging this bot side, regardless of Sushi's pressure on the Tristana. They will break open the base. They're going to take an inhibitor along with it. And I feel like this is where they stop their charge. They're going to take the Hex Gates. They're going to go back, and Rovex gets canceled.
You should have plenty of time to get out of there. There's still a lot of beef, especially about 28 minutes on this cow, so I doubt he'll have any sort of issue. We are going to get a rotation here by Hoarder, making his way to top, alleviating some of that pressure. But what's going to happen with the Drake here? There is still an angle for A to go for, but they're down a lot of gold, Quacks.
They're down a lot of gold and also don't have a ton of vision around this bot side river. You can see that Manui is trying his best to set stuff up, but really you want to go for that crab. And so they are going to have to hard commit for it, but then Jumbo is going to naturally just dissuade them from doing that. Now all of that vision that you placed down is subject to being torn apart, and now the map completely dark for Team A on this bot side.
As Hoarder continues to push in the top lane, doing a little bit of macro for his team, counteracting a lot of what Adam did. And I don't think, even though this is objective is going to be so important, I don't think Team A wants to contest this. Look at that gold difference, Quacks.
Yeah, they really aren't in any position to contest it either. Face checking an Alistar and face checking a Seraphine are it's not a good idea. I think you would be better off not doing that. So they aren't going to do that, and that does mean that Soul Point will belong to Team B. That Baron buff is still active as well, but not for much longer. You can see on the bottom left of the screen that timer for the Nashor is essentially almost out. So, I mean, just looking at it in a vacuum, Team B only really, breaking open that bot side, which will have implications for the Dragon. But besides that, I mean, you still have a tier 2 in top, and you have plenty of base to work with, and maybe look for some kind of angle to punch back in Team B's face.
Absolutely, and objective after objective keeps falling to the side of Team B. Team B and continues to increase their gold lead, using every advantage they possibly can and picking up every small little victory they can get their hands on. I don't know if y'all were watching, but they were able to pick up blue buff, which may not sound like a lot, but at what I think it's about like 20 minutes or so, blue buff is a buff for your entire team. It might be a minor thing, but it adds up, especially when you have something like a Seraphine that is able to grab it and denying it from Ryze and Tristana and everyone else. So, it's a lot more powerful than I think people give it credit for.
For sure. I think blue buff has a lot of really good synergy with Seraphine, right? Lowering those cooldowns and also just allowing her to free fire those long-range AoE spells. Does put a lot of pressure onto Team A. As we can see, they're trying to put pressure onto this top side. They really want to break open this tier 2. And it looks like they will finally do that. They've got the grubs, so This is a turret that will fall eventually. And now, this is what I'm worried about. Without the Baron, it can be a little bit tougher to siege, so... But not for them, apparently. They're just off
Three
the
people
towers.
are out of range. Seraphine popping on the encore and just barely missing Dr. Calculus as the last inhib for the top lane falls to pieces, leaving only one lane left untouched. TP coming in. We're looking for an angle. Dr. Calculus going to pick
Good ult.
but that's going to be a powerful tool down if they're able to catch Team B, but that's a big if.
Okay, Realm Warp. They are doing this completely blind, by the way.
There it is. Adam going in. Rumble is a little bit separated as Jax goes in, looking for the stun, trying to keep Adam alive. Adam's going to be so important as Enthralled and Emerald able to take each other out back and forward. Sushi trying to find some sort of angle, trying to dish out the damage, trying to dig deep as Hoarder is going for Shimmer. The Jax falling to pieces, but Dr. Calculus and Sushi are still here. They might be left holding the bag. They jump, but it's just not going to be enough as Sushi gets caught and decimated, and that's going to be 4 kills in the favor of Team B, and game number 1, Quacks, might already be over.
And it's a jump competition between Sushi and Rovex, but Rovex, he's got those cow legs. They're strong and they're sturdy, and they completely uproot this Tristana trying to get away. Team B win out on the fight, and you gotta believe, Koryak, that just might be the final nail in the coffin. Baron up in 30 seconds. Dragon is a minute after that. Team A don't have any vision around either of these parts on the map. They will be walking in blind.
And they have super minions walking into their base. So much to watch out for. And like you mentioned before, and I think it's important to bring it up again, you know, when they don't have the vision, when they don't have the pressure, it's so scary to walk into a Tristan, or to walk into Samikin on the Seraphine, to walk into Alistair without that vision. You can't face check it because you're just going to die, especially with this gold lead.
Baron gonna be taken right off rip. No possibility for Team A to look for a contest. The best they can do is Adam. Wait.
Adam walking a little bit too far forward, gonna pick up an encore, and there's just no way. There's no way he's gonna get out. We are getting some pressure here from Tristana, but this might already be game. Nasher going down in the background. No turrets in top lane to stop it. No inhib, so we're gonna get super minions being powered by the Baron buff. This is gonna be a lot of sieging power, and Sushi is only just now backing.
Rovex is at about half HP, but that is also kind of deceptive as he still has the unbreakable will. But they're going to look to end the game right here. It's still 30 seconds until Adam is gone, and here goes Jumbo.
Going in, Jax trying to follow up, but unfortunately he's only going to find death instead as the exhaust comes down and Sushi falls to pieces. And this indeed is game number 3, going to the side of Team B as Yanara picks up a triple kill to finish things off, Quacks.
10, 2, and 13 for Samikin on the Seraphine. And Koryak, they banned 5 of his champions, by the way. That was 5 bans toward the mid laner of Blue Water, and he still puts on a performance like that. Fearless is actually really going to be helping out Team A here, because they aren't going to have to deal with that Seraphine again, and they can keep banning away those champions. Maybe they can add a 6th ban for game number 2.
Absolutely.
But in all honesty, yeah, this felt like the Samikin show through and through. Him and Enthralled got accelerated way earlier than we were anticipating, Koryak. And although they had a couple of hiccups in the mid game, and I think Team A did a good job at using the pick potential tools like the public execution and the rune prison to find some gold back in their pockets, a lot of it just kind of felt like when it came to team fights, when it came to those 5v5s, and when it came to those actual objective contests, every time these two teams met on the field, it felt like it was just Team B's to absolutely stomp, and stomp they did. So really good game from them, playing to their scaling, playing to their win cons, and accelerating them way sooner than anyone anticipated.
Absolutely. And there's something I wanted to note here before we close out and head to break is with Samikin getting the 4-man ban and then 5-man ban and then having a 10-2 performance in game number 1 is going to show a lot. You know, if the whole idea is to get noticed, you know, and improve as well, I think that is going to be something to watch out for. But we can speculate, we can talk. We're going to wait a couple of minutes for the next players to just sort of herd their way into the next game. So give us about 2 to 3 minutes. We're going to go on a break. So grab yourself some refreshments and some drinks, and we'll be right back.
such a misfit, always ready to brawl. It's like her business, roughing up your friends. The law, there is no difference. If you believe you're strong, she's a bulldozer, making sure you're flat on the ground. She's like a boomerang that never gives up. She flies in circles so she hits you when you're bowed in the dust. So just remember this, when she's chasing you down, face first, you'll be thrown into the proving ground. She'll knock you out.
Alrighty, Quacks, here we are back in Draft 2, Game 2, and what a game number 1 that was. Keep in mind, this is Fearless, so right below my dumb head and Quacks' dumb head will be the Fearless bans from the previous matches, plus the normal bans. It looks like for the sides, Team B has decided to go B side, or I guess more accurately, since Team A lost, Team A decided to go red side, where Team B is now blue side, Quacks.
Yep, so we're going to be seeing a switch up of sides here. This is pretty common throughout the entire combine. Like we said at the beginning of the cast, and like we said at the beginning of the stream, a lot of these are not about, winning, and obviously winning does help, but it is just about trying to get that experience. And so I do think as many side swaps as possible is good just for the learning process. So I would expect that no matter who wins here, we're probably going to be seeing a side swap for Game 3 as well. Nonetheless, though, bans are going to be coming through. And like we talked about in game number 1, Samikin on a monster performance with the Seraphine, along with Enthralled. I think those two really drove the game home on those late game win conditions that were accelerated extremely early. And it also is worth noting that, Team A banned Samikin's 5 champions. They literally 5 banned this individual because they did not want his comfort characters, and he still managed to put up a performance. And already we're seeing mid lane focus being targeted here by Team A with the Azir ban coming through.
Absolutely. They put him in the hyperbolic time chamber, and he came out even stronger. Although this game number 2 might be a little bit different, I'm assuming they're probably going to 5-man ban him again, which means that for Samikin specifically, he's got Seraphine no longer on the docket, right? He's got Ryze no longer on the docket, right? So that's 2 there. Yep. So he's got, going into this one, he's going to have 7 bans. So that's 7 people off of his list, essentially, that he can no longer play. But this can also be a bit of a double-edged sword, because if you're focusing all these bans in Samikin, there's probably some cross-pollination when it comes to the picks on the other side too, so you can bite yourself just a little bit on this one.
And I do wonder if, because some of those Samikin champions are going to escape the ban phase. I think a lot of people associate Samikin with the Zoe. They associate him with the Hwei. They even can associate him with the Mel. I think he's really good at a lot of those long-range artillery mages. That is what he has played to really carve out his name here. And Team A can only ban one of those away. They fear the first pick Azir. They fear the first pick Orianna. And it seems like they are also going to be fearing the first pick Sion. So that frees up a good amount of champions in Samikin's wheelhouse that he can actually play. But I don't think they're going to snag it up immediately. I think the more common thing would probably be saving it until maybe that second phase of bans. So we'll have to wait and see, or second phase of picks, rather. So we'll have to wait and see what goes on. But Tahe hovering the Wukong. Tahe on the Xin Zhao game number 1, I think, had a lot of proactivity early, but I think really came into his own around that mid to late game. And Wukong, a champion that doesn't have a lot of influence in the early game, at least not until you get that Cyclone. So I think that this should be right up his alleyway. If he can recreate the style that he played in game number 1, it will be a lot more effective on a champion who spikes around that time as well.
Absolutely. And looking at Wukong shares a lot of similarities with Zen. Obviously not having that crescent guard is one thing Wukong doesn't have, but Wukong is still very versatile, and they're both very much so tip of the spear, regardless of whether or not they have spears or not. So they're really, really great to follow it up. So I wouldn't be surprised too if we see a Pantheon to follow to go up maybe into game number 3. We are going to go into the Neeko for the next pick. I do like this. I don't think Neeko goes anything weird right now. I think she's entirely just the support. And okay,
wow, that's locked.
You're raising some eyebrows. Go ahead.
I actually love watching Qiyana in competitive, but I get a little bit antsy when it's picked this early on, because sure, the Qiyana into Wukong is actually a pretty good matchup for Shimmer, because you're able to make use of that early game and get possibly an item advantage over the Wukong before he can get that Triforce. You can probably go for that Profane, but the rest of the picks have not been revealed yet. I think that Qiyana can very easily be punished if you have pushing lanes here from Team B, and possibly give Tahe that opportunity to look for something aggressive into Shimmer's own jungle that could really set the Qiyana behind you. Qiyana is a champion that, although yes, you have that ultimate and you still will have damage, it's hard to find a ton of uses outside of that R key if you don't have gold in order to one-shot the backline. So that is my big worry about Team A. You were mentioning double-edged swords earlier, Koryak. Qiyana very much so being picked this early is a double-edged sword.
And it looks like the answer is going to go from that into LeBlanc. So unless something weird's going on, we're going to get a LeBlanc in to Kiana for the mid lane. And I do like Kiana with Nico because this is a lot of control and a lot of burst damage, you know, between both Nico and Kiana. So they can really follow it up. And I do like this here. The follow-up is going to be Kaisa and Jin on both perspective sides. So far from what I can tell, Team A has a very, very clear identity, at least much more clear than I think we were on the last game, Quacks.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think that Nico can be a good source of engage later on in the game, but right now I'm looking. I sound like a broken record, but this is exactly the kind of situation that we found ourselves in at this point in the draft for game number 1, Koryak, where we were begging for some formal form of engage for Team A. I think Team B do have the Wukong, so you obviously have that Cyclone to be able to start up these fights, but Nico Ultimate is a little bit awkward sometimes to start up fights because it can be pretty telegraphed what Manui wants to do when he's just walking forward, or hey, look, a blue buff is walking directly at me. I wonder who that could be. So I do think that when we look at the not yet revealed mid and top lane picks here for Team A, it has to be something that has the capability of going in. And I think that probably falls onto Calculus, which leaves me with interestingly limited amount of options, because you're expecting Calculus to be pretty away from a lot of the action in this game. So we don't really we want to put him on engage, but we want to make sure that that engage is present in a lot of these fights. So I do think that banning away the Ornn is a really good idea. Sion was also already taken away. So we're probably not going to see a top laner on 4 here. Instead, we'll probably see a mid laner, an answer to the LeBlanc. But it really just is a question of what are we actually going to be seeing as a go button here for Team A. As I spoke too soon, it looks like they actually are going to go for a top laner.
So Cassante is a decent engage, and I think in a lot of different ways, Cassante serves a similar purpose that Ambessa does. They're kind of in the same wheelhouse, different kits, obviously. And in my opinion, Cassante is very much the Silas in top lane with a bit more beef, so that is something to watch out for. And we're going to turn this into Mel. So is this a LeBlanc support?
It might be. I mean, this is one of Samikin's big champions, right? You've got the I think that his trifecta is the Zoe, the Hui, and the Mel. So it is going to be locked in. Rovex, we did see a Nidalee support in game number 1. So honestly, at this point, nothing would surprise me. I would say it's more expected to see the Mel in the support role, because obviously that is more common than LeBlanc. But knowing that this is Samikin, I think really warps my expectations on where these champions are actually going. So yeah, I'm gonna probably just guess that it's going to be LeBlanc support here for Rovex along with the Jhin. And honestly, don't hate that pairing. The Chain plus the Deadly Flourish is a really good set of lockdown tools that can give the Mel, the Garen, and the Wukong a lot of time to free hit you in these fights. So I think it is going to have to be the Kaisa and the Nika being very wary of where they step, knowing that they will not be able to move for a million years if they get hit by one of these tools. But it does seem like Team A are prepared for that as they lock in the Morgana, which I think is actually really good here. I think oftentimes the best counter to Morgana is the AoE spells that can cause CC, because you can only spell shield one person. But there aren't a lot of AoE spells here, lockdown spells here for Team B. A lot of it is singular. So I do think this really pushes up the value in Morgana significantly. The question is, can Adam actually be freed up against this pick? This is going to be a battle of which mid laner can push the fastest and link up with their jungler to make aggressive plays, I think.
Absolutely. And sort of doubling back to the first cast, Quacks pointed out that, with this one, we're watching for a lot of thorns, a lot of things that we want to see, sort of clipped throughout the progression of these games and this week and just this entire series here for the Combine. And something I would like to see is I would like to see the positioning for Dr. Calculus just locked in a little bit. He has been not in the worst out of position spots, but, he's had to run into Alistair over and over and over, and it happened a couple of times in order order for these fights to sort of like boil down. And I think Team B really saw that. They said, hey, Dr. Calculus is more likely to step out of position than someone else. So when we see him by himself, he might actually indeed be by himself. And this is the perfect opportunity for him to sort of gather himself and reposition, maybe get some caffeine. And I think the purpose of the 10-minute break is for coaches to sort of talk back and forward and say, hey, you did this or that, and to really hone in on that. So I'll be very surprised if we don't see changing an orientation there for that one. But I really got to know, is this going to be LeBlanc support or is this going to be Mel support, Quacks?
That's $1 million question. And I like that you brought up positioning, because I actually think, although I'm putting a lot of stake in Dr. Calculus's positioning, especially having that all out and being a source of engage here for Team A, my biggest question is about Shimmer on this Kiana, right? We saw him in game number 1 on the Jax, getting caught out a lot by Rovex on the Alistar. Now, I will grant Rovex the fact that I think it was more him taking charge and being proactive rather than Shimmer necessarily having bad positioning. But this is a game where you can't have bad positioning if you are Shimmer, right? You are one of the big carries. You are the big damage dealing Kiana jungle who needs to be getting ahead as soon as possible. So the idea is that we just want to see where this guy will be placed at a lot of these fights, because it can not only dictate how much damage he'll be able to do and the survivability that he'll be able to have in these exchanges, but also having a good angle, a good position with that supreme display of talent can really warp a team fight around it. So looking at Shimmer, looking at this Kiana, and I'm also seeing that on Team B, it is in fact Rovex with the LB support, Koryak.
I'm glad I hit the nail right on the head, and I thought the possibility was there with the fact that we got Nidalee, right? And I'm a pretty old player. I'm used to a lot of weird supports. Even at one point, Malzahar was a valid support, which sounds like blasphemy, but there was a patch where he was valid. And so I've seen it all. I've seen Aatrox, I've seen everything like that. I think LeBlanc's a little bit more of a contender. I think I prefer LeBlanc more on the ADC role, but she can still do a lot in that deal. And I think what Rovex is doing here is they're testing a lot of the boundaries, right? They saw the Nidalee, I believe it was, on the other side, and they're like, you know what, I can do that too. I could be just as weird. And sometimes the weird is where you find these metas, where you find these niches, where it's like, okay, we didn't think this person had a lead. You know, I think Heimerdinger's a good example. I believe they discovered that, what was that, in Worlds? I don't remember if that was a Korean strategy that developed into Worlds, and then it was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Quacks.
I think one thing, though, for Rovex, or one thing that LeBlanc really can provide, we talked about the added advantages and the bonuses of having Nidalee support in the last game, where, you know, you have those traps, so you have, like, a little bit of extra vision to go along with it. You have the heal, so there's a little bit more in-lane sustain. And obviously, you have the damage, right? So those are things that I think Nidalee provided in the laning phase. But when I'm looking at Rovex, I feel like a lot of the bonuses here for this pick, obviously, along with the damage, a lot of those other advantages come outside of the laning phase, right? Because you do have that W. You have the ability to get into a lot of these nooks and crannies that other champions can't, and place down a lot of these deep visions that can track where the enemy jungler is. And so that's what I'm really looking at here for Rovex to do. We talk about the importance of Kiana and Shimmer being able to get ahead and have that positioning, but I do think it's going to be on Rovex slightly to help track and find out where this guy is at all times, using that W to get this vision down, to get these deep wards in place to where you aren't surprised by any play that Shimmer is attempting to make.
Absolutely. And I think something we've also got to remember too is we've got a Nico in the game, right? Nico can roam, I won't say as hard as LeBlanc, but it is something really to watch out for. You know, you always see in plenty of chats and, you know, signs coming up in LTA or whatever event you're at where it says count the minions. And I think that's a good point for something to watch out for, because even these pro players can fall victim to the count the minions.
Oh, they absolutely can. It was probably one of the most hilarious portions or parts of League, times of League is the word I was looking for, when the Nico rework had just hit, and a lot of people were still getting used to the fact that Nico could actually turn into a minion, and so you had Korean pro players getting bamboozled because they didn't count the minions. Now, though, it's become kind of second nature against this champion. The big strategy, though, has been disguise yourself as the minion at the front of the wave instead of the minion at the back of the wave, because everyone suspects Nico to be in that back line. So we'll have to see what kind of tricks and kind of bag of goodies Manui has in store for us with this pick, as it has been pretty omnipresent throughout 2025. And he's been a player that I think has really been impressive here in North America in 2025. Obviously, role swapping from AD carry and then going to top lane in the ACL. Now, though, back in support where he found his success on Conviction in spring really makes me happy, because I think he was one of the biggest surprises of that split and continues to impress me with what he's able to provide on this role.
Absolutely, and we're getting a little bit of shenanigans on the Nico, trying to take advantage of that, but that does mean that Cassante is going to be by himself. However, that's not someone you really need to babysit, as we're continuing to just try to pressure this Wukong, but I don't think you're going to be able to get too much off of him. Dr. Calculus is down in the bot lane. It's a little bit untraditional. Kaisa seems to be faring much better into Garen, trying to get a lot of those early advantages, and they've kept up with their opponent in the bot lane. Both ADCs are identical when it comes to the CSing, but the most importantly is Hoarder is really taking a pounding, and now Shimmer is looking for some sort of angle. You talked about that positioning. Is this going to be good positioning here?
Hoarder, though, in a really bad position, does have flash available, and that health pot and plus pass is doing a lot for his HP bar.
There it is.
Whoa,
Shimmer
whoa,
coming
whoa,
in,
whoa,
looking for
whoa!
the angle, but Garen actually picking up a double kill. Spin to win for the win for sure, as Hoarder is coming out strong in game number 2.
That didn't even feel like Hoarder. All he had to do was click W. Didn't even have to flash. The turret did all the work, and suddenly the Garen has a double kill off of a failed dive from Team A. That is so bad for Sushi and Shimmer. It's not even funny, the ramifications that failed dive could have, because now Hoarder has so much gold. He's got the T-Bat. They're going to go into the swap, so he'll have plenty of wave clear. He still has that flash. That is just disastrous, and now it opens up the door for Hoarder to have such a monster game. I was just talking about how Manui was one of the biggest impressive factors of the spring split in NACL for 2025. Hoarder was the other impressive factor of Conviction in that split, and now with 2 kills worth of gold, he's just going in.
Knight coming down, looking for Manui, trying to take him out, and indeed he's gonna able to pick the kill, go back into the bush, but Sushi should have the damage. The flash coming forward. Sushi ultimately able to get a kill and a shutdown, but that's still a trade on the side of Hoarder, 1 for 1. And something I wanted to point out too is not only did he get 2 kills by pressing the extremely difficult ability of W, but he put the Kaisa and of course the Kiana a little bit behind.
Hey!
Running into a bit of damage, but it looks like he's got the damage here to return it. A little bit of back and forward as the flash happens there by Adam. Adam just trying to stay out of that mess, and I do not blame him. Rovix maybe overstaying their welcome, gonna fall victim a little bit to a plant. Sitting about half HP, but I just don't think they have the damage or the mana.
Wow.
As Mel, Sammy-Kid comes in,
Oh
grabs
my
the
God.
stun,
No
throws
way.
down the rebuttal, and is trying to
Manui!
keep the support alive. Manui is gonna pick it up, but will they die for it? Shimmer coming in. We're overcommitting for this one. I've got to imagine Sammy-Kid in a little bit of trouble, but is indeed gonna take out the Nico. The Q coming in from Sushi, trying to lock him down. Another kill on the side of Team A, and Team B just overstayed way too long.
I mean, Team B are really pushing their limits in that fight. I mean, they get a kill back onto Sushi.
Shinobu.
They also find... Oh, Jumbo.
Duking it out with Shimmer, both sitting pretty close to about half HP. The rotation
Item difference.
so much. Kiana getting so close to picking up a kill. Dr. Calculus looks for it. He wants it. He's out for blood, but unfortunately he's not able to get it as Shimmer comes in the background, taking down the Wukong, and somehow they walk out, and the tempo is definitely in the favor of Team A. We're only 7 minutes in, Quacks.
I mean, the vibes might have been there for Tahe, but the items are there for Shimmer. It was a pickaxe versus a longsword ruby crystal, and unfortunately pickaxe wins out onto that trade, as we can see Rovex trying to deliver some damage. Yeah, Team B maybe just overstaying their welcome a little too far, though I will say it gives a lot of gold over to their solo laner. Samikin getting a direct deposit for 2 kills. Meanwhile, Hoarder, he gets a ton of time alone on that bot side with the Garen. On top of the 3 kills that he already has, they sent everyone from Team A to try and put out that fire that was brewing in their own jungle, including Sushi, who was not there to match the Garen. And so Hoarder picking up a lot of gold in that exchange now means that he is just so much more of a threat in this game. And it feels like we've only been here for a few minutes, but now Grubs are up in about 20 seconds, and the Garen with Ultimate and Ignite is standing right between you and that objective as Team A, and I don't think you want to be testing that Garen right now, Koryak.
Absolutely. Normally, I would say the advantage would be in the side that rotated their ADCs to the top lane, their ADC and support to top lane, but that Garen is such a raid boss right now. We are indeed looking for a little bit of vision, but I don't think they really want to contest this. So much gold is on that Garen. He's so scary, and as long as he keeps up the pressure, his team should have plenty of time to take out those Void Grubs, but the positioning is going to be so important, especially just like you said, on Shimmer. We've got to watch him. That's the ball we got to keep our eye on. Jinobu. Q coming in, going to miss. That's great for them to keep it up, but I don't think this is going to turn into too much. The Q does come down, locking down the Morgana on Adam as they take at least a little bit of damage. But that spell shield does so much work for Morgana. Dr. Calculus is here. He's going to pick up a stun there for Robex. Going to stun after stun. This is really great here for this objective because this is more and more resources burned on the side, at least when it comes to HP for Team A.
Yeah, Team A trying to just get any kind of advantage that they can here. Hoarder is being gated from joining. He's going to try and face check, but has to be super careful about that, though. If you're expecting two people to just zone off one guy from the fight and you're sacrificing the other side of the river, I feel like that's not a worth it trade. Is okay, one Grub going over to Team B.
We do have Garen here in the background. This is not a
Oh my god!
They pick up a stun by Mel, locking them down with an ultimate as they absolutely fall to pieces. Cyclone to add insult to injury, taking them down. Team B has such a strong lead. Not only did they get the objective, but they picked up 3 kills in rapid succession. I almost missed it, Quacks.
And that rebuttal from Samakin was all they needed. The supreme display of talent there from Shimmer to try and salvage the situation, but the situation already felt hopeless. Team B are dominating in this game. The full camp of Grubs will be given over to them, and that is absolutely huge for Hoarder. This Garen does not have TP, so it's going to be hard for him to join up in a lot of these fights. We're looking at the side lane agency for him to really be on that, and I feel like with these Grubs, he is going to be a threat Team A cannot ignore. They are going to have to sacrifice numbers in a lot of these bot side exchanges just to deal with him.
Absolutely, and I think this is another perfect example of how scary Sammy can be, and specifically how scary Mel can be. That stun does a lot of work, that rebuttal does a lot of work. A well-timed rebuttal can turn a fight around time and time again. I do like what Team B is doing here. Even though they have the advantage, they decided, hey, you know, we're not going to risk it. We don't really have the positioning to go for this Drake. Yeah. Let's just give up one Drake for now. We've already got our hands on Void Grubs. We already have our hands on a lot of kills. We're going to try to maintain the tempo. Dr. Calculus taking an absolute hammering from a 4-1 Garen, and I'm not surprised as he just kind of has to make the back, going underneath his tower. Order wants it. Order wants the damage. Whoa. Multiple tower shots, but it's just not going to happen as Dr. Calculus is still able to walk away, but Garen is basically a built-in Warmog, so he just needs a little bit of time to go make another dive.
He's trying to accelerate that dive forward. He's got the fast track on the kill for Calculus, who also used that flash, and maybe a little bit of an oopsie moment. Now is going to be relying on his ultimate to try and turn around this dive that Hoarder is going to look for.
Hoarder baiting out the shield, trying to buy themselves a time, but at the very least, those Grubs should help them get more and more plates, little damage back and forward. They are skirting the limits, getting so close, but Hoarder has plenty of time, and he just needs to fight these skirmishes back and forward, because while Dr. Calculus on Cassante will do a whole bunch. Kurt Call got a call down, trying to lock down Sushi, as Jinobu goes in, popping the Cyclone, just barely able to get it. There's the barrier on the other side, and they're just not able to commit to that, as Manui goes in looking for an angle, and the stun comes in right there at the end to pick up a kill for the other side. Hoarder
he doesn't
in a
do any damage.
1v2ing, but if anyone can 1v2, it's gonna be the Garen, as he just kind of walks away. I expected that to turn in a bit more. He does have Ignite up soon.
He's too tanky. He's got the D shield. He's already got a completed Stride Breaker. There's nothing that Shimmer can throw at him that will dent this Garen, so he just walks it off casually in a 1v2 scenario, unfazed. And now, with that passive, it's just going to go right back to applying pressure toward this top side. And this is what we talked about. You need more than...
Oh, no. Oh no, is he just gonna do it? Is he just gonna do it?
Nah, this
He's
guy's
just
a
gonna do
menace.
it. He might die for it, but
Nah.
he does go over the wall with a
Okay.
flash. Shimmer does pick up a shutdown, which isn't the worst thing. You hinted at how important Shimmer's gonna be not only for positioning, but for the game. So for someone like that to grab the shutdown, that's not the worst.
And also being able to get that kill essentially unrequited. It felt like every time Shimmer picked up something in the form of gold, he would get immediately aggressed onto and die. So being able to get that kill, I think really important, especially because you don't lose anything for it at the end of the day. Will also give him his Profane Hydra along with another Brutalizer. So big items coming through here from the Kiana now. A bot side play brewing. Let's see if the new and improved Shimmer Kiana jungle can really make the difference here in this fight as both teams are positioning.
Oh, Rovic's taking a good chunk of damage and immediately going to get stunned and destroyed by Adam. Adam coming in, dropping 1 Q and another ability, and LeBlanc just fell to pieces. And this is why I love Morgana. People might hate her for a lot of reasons, and I understand the hate for her, but she's so powerful. She's deceptively powerful. And when she's not on support, the Q will just outright kill you a lot of the times.
Morgana plus the Kiana being able to land that second WQ with the water and secure the stun is
under tower.
Shinobu.
Sushi taking quite the hammering as Shinobu on the hunt looking for some sort of objective to go for. Manui taking a whole bunch of those shots directly to the bum, keeping Sushi alive. I expect a little more out of that, but I do like the control for Manui, just absorbing plenty of those shots. You did mention there is someone to watch out for, and I think these small little plays really add up. Even though they're not particularly in the world's best spot, just little bitty things like that add up, even though it seems like a minor thing.
And Hoarder actually dealing a significantly less amount of damage to the K'Sante now that that Iceborne Gauntlet has been secured for Dr. Calculus. So just giving him more survivability in the laning phase. This should mean that Shimmer can focus more so on the bot side. Doesn't have to worry about his top laner getting solo killed by Hoarder under the tower with impunity. Can really put his money toward the mid and bot side that should be the lane's set up, right? As Shimmer barely misses out on that ult.
Down.
Yeah, and
Got close though.
Yeah, I mean, dragging up in 30 as well, along with the Herald. That means Team B no longer having to fear a really big ultimate like you said, Koryak is Samakin. Oh my god.
A dead Adam? No,
Nope.
that spell shield's just too powerful. But most importantly, now we have Shelly under contestant, and we do not have the ultimate on Shimmer to be able to, I think, fight this. I think this might be a free objective, but Team B needs to be very careful. They're paying a lot of respect to Team A. They know these players, and they know they still have to watch out for them, even though they are ahead, as Hoarder once again dives Dr. Calculus, providing even more pressure to pick up this Shelly.
And I'm really surprised the Tahe is the only one on this Herald. I feel like if you're able to chunk out Dr. Calculus, he's going to inevitably TP back with full conditions. And you need to be using this time where he's off the map to try and get this objective. So they finally do go on to it. It was a little bit worrisome because if they decided to pull the trigger with Dr. Calculus's TP, they maybe could have turned that fight, but they don't opt to go for it. Instead, they trade for a dragon. So once again, Team A do have the dragon stacking into their control. It's just a matter of can they hold on to it this second time around here, Koryak.
Absolutely, and it's a really solid strategy. I think Team A recognized, hey, we're just not going to be able to take that Shelly from them, so let's try to find a counter objective. And Hoarder, I think, countered the objective while they were grabbing Drake. He just grabbed top tower, and so it really mitigated the advantages there for that. But it doesn't stop, just like you were saying, it doesn't stop the dragon building, it doesn't stop the soul building. All of those things are really important tools to watch out for. And I've got to say, I was a little worried about Morgana into Mel. Not that Morgana's not powerful, but I haven't seen her in quite some time. I'm happy to see a return. Adam is kind of playing to my heart, in my opinion. I'm seeing a lot of old picks back in mid lane rise, and then Morgana immediately following. Sammy Cannon, maybe overstaying their welcome.
Doesn't have vision of Shimmer, and Adam doesn't have vision of Rovek, so we're in a bit of a difficult conundrum. We don't have vision of Manui!
Nico absolutely fooling not only the team, but the casters as well, taking them out. They thought they had the numbers advantage, but they did not count the minions as one
We
goes
didn't count the
down.
minions.
Team A breathing some life. Manui, definitely someone to keep their eye on as the block goes in,
Manui?
finds a stun, finds a little bit of revenge. Enthralled opens up a curtain call and lands a shot, picks up a kill, and that is now a long-winded 1-for-1 trade. 3K in the favor of Team B, though, so far, corrects. Adam?
We got bamboozled by Manui as well, by the way. We didn't count the minions as the casters, and now Adam has to count his days because they will be long as he gets out of there. The dive not going to be focused around him, instead just securing that tower now. All right, let's see it, Rovex. Do you have the driver's license? Nope. Okay, head-on collision with the Kiana. You're under arrest.
Rovlex just minding his own business, driving down on his bike, and then someone comes over and puts a stick inside their pegs, absolutely crashing their ride. It could have been worth it, but we just didn't get any drift, and the smite was too powerful, and Shelly dies sort of unceremoniously in the jungle.
Good there for Shimmer to stop one turret from becoming two, as Samikin is pushing up quite far here. Shimmer does have ultimate. Samikin flash.
Barrier will provide them plenty of advantage as they knock them directly into it. I think people forget that your vision is blocked by Autocon spawning there in the top lane with that little arena, and Shimmer, knowing that, using it to their advantage, is able to pick up a 1-2 punch kill for sure. Unfortunately, I don't think there's an objective to follow it up.
I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't opt to stay and take the tower, especially when you've got that Otacon that you mentioned, Koryak, coming up in about a minute. Having that wave, push up a little bit further to provide you more room to get vision and maybe find a pick could be really valuable, but they go for the resets. They get their items a little bit earlier than I feel like they needed to. They just want to maybe set up a little bit more ahead of time, not give Team B the option to really face check into them, as Manui does it again!
Once again, Manui messing with the caster, gonna take a whole bunch of damage. Curtain call does come down, knocking them down for the second time, unfortunately, but Shimmer looking for an angle, trying to lock down the move, Monkey King, but it's just not enough. The stun's coming back left and forward. It's already up to take down the support. Order here in the back line. Ignite down on Enthralled as they fall to pieces, and so does Shimmer. Team A may have been looking good, but the synergy on Team B is absolutely phenomenal.
And Hoarder, maybe looking for more. Probably won't be able to find Calculus, even with the Garen ultimate in tow. He's just too tanky, but that's still a bunch of kills going over to Team B. Otacon is now up. They should be able to claim this mid lane turret. It'll be a trade because on top side, we saw Team A finally finish off that top tier 1. But I feel like they are going to be walking away with so much more gold in their pocket. A really underrated member of Team B this game has been Enthralled. He has been so accurate with the curtain calls this game, constantly finding his shots on the low HP targets and being able to provide that damage from afar. It's been so valuable, not only for picking off members of Team A, but just the curtain call alone can be used as a zoning tool, can be used as a stalling tool. And I feel like he really has been pushing the limits of this champion here in game 2. Otacon still up. Dragon also up in about 10 seconds, so we might see a trade here by these teams.
Absolutely. And I think pointing out Enthralled is a really good point. I've had the pleasure of casting a couple of games with Enthralled in it, and Enthralled really likes to do this. They have a lot of versatility, but they're also happy to just sort of sit back and just quietly come online, and now that Jhin is sitting at 4-0. TP coming in, but they do see it. Mel timing it just when they need, as Dr. Calculus goes down so low. Nico trying to follow up, gonna pick up a stun and take it down as well. Otacon falling to the side of Team A there in the background. Curtain call opens up so much damage incoming, but the number advantage should be in the side of Team A. They can fight this if they can just find the angle. Samikin trying to predict a couple of things as Hoarder is knocking at the back door, knocking at the bot lane, at least providing some value to losing that objective and those kills.
And this is kind of the double-edged sword that we talked about, right? But it's with the Garen, because you do have a lot of that agency in the laning phase, and you have a lot of that damage and that side lane pressure, but not taking the teleport means that really you're not going to have a lot of value in team fights. Your team is going to be down numbers in some of these exchanges. And so they'll just have to live with that, especially because they do lose that Otacon now. Dragon is up, and the Garen will be present for this fight. So it will be a 5v5 on both fronts. I wonder who is going to come out on top, though, as we can see both of them are just vying for any sort of vision or poke that they can find before the actual fight goes off.
Ooh,
Shimmer.
Stun coming down.
Oh my god.
Shimmer trying to find it. The ultimate is ultimately a miss. As Sushi maybe overstaying their welcome. They've got to watch out for the stun. There's the powerful tool down as Dr. Calculus is taking an absolute hammering there for Garen. He does escape, almost still in the counter. Shoots hand grenades as Garen does fall to pieces. Number advantage is on the other side. Dr. Calculus is going to fall to the other one. That spell shield buying so much time as Manui trying to find the damage, trying to find the knockouts, but it's just not giving enough. This can still go either way. We're down to a 3v3 as the curtain call opens up, trying to lock down Sushi. It does get stopped.
Sushi
back and forward. Sushi doing so much damage. The positioning so great here on Team A. Team A has an angle to go for as Kaisa gets ultimately destroyed and picks up kill, and that is going to be a full ace, Quacks, for Team A. They are back in this game number 2. They are online and going for their 3rd Drake.
And you better believe it. Team A, they were down, but they were not out. Koryak Shimmer, the early game, maybe looking a little bit rough for the Kiana, but he finds his mark. He finds his flank, and Sushi is simultaneously knocking on the front door while Shimmer is kicking down the back one. Beautifully played fight there for Team A, going on to Hoarder, immediately getting a numbers advantage, and now Soul Point is accessed by them. We're going to be needing Team B to step it up for the next 4 minutes. They need to find some kind of an advantage, either in the side lane or in the team fights before that happens, because it feels like Team A just got so much gold in their pocket that makes them a viable threat in the 5v5s.
And I really like what Shimmer did and his team did. They recognized, hey, we need to pull this fight into our jungle. We recognize that this positioning on Shimmer is going to be so important. And so they just made the fight happen in their side. Turns are way more impactful than just full engages. We saw it right there. Despite Team B having a 3K advantage into that fight, they walked in to the jungle of the other side and lost their homeroom advantage, and just they really suffered it. We saw it with the ult from Shimmer.
Yeah, Shimmer, I mean, initially got his ultimate reflected, but because of that Axiom's Arc, had it back up toward the end of the fight, which allowed them to end it soundly. As you can see, Hoarder, this Garen really has no other plays than to look for something on the side lanes, and this could be maybe a pick
Adam
here.
Run directly into it. Look how quickly he is melted, and that's an easy 720 for the Garen. It just looked like he was going over there and picking up groceries. It was not even a fight.
Wasn't. Now Adam, these death timers are starting to get really long. He's gone for 40 seconds, and you can see Team A are trying to look for something aggressive on the top side of the map because they know Garen isn't presently here, and Shimmer's damage is insane, by the way.
Absolutely,
on this Kiana. 3 items plus the Serilda, so your armor is also getting shredded.
Oh, no.
Sushi.
The stun coming in on Sushi as the stun happens just immediately afterwards. Do we have another shot here on the curtain call? That's going to be a half HP Sushi on Kaiso. That is going to be an important tool, but Shimmer is still here ready to go. Dr. Calculus having to meet that all-important Garen, and Rovix having to make their way downtown, walking fast towards the mid lane, and I don't think we're going to go for any sort of Nasher this early on. We need some sort of clear advantage. Jinobu trying to find that out, trying to go for the red buff, going to pop their Cyclone. There it is, but it immediately ults back and forward as Kaisa comes in, having a hard time keeping up with Jinobu. Just needs one more shot, and Manui does find him, but they might get taken down for it. The spell shield is on top of them, but they still ultimately die and fall to pieces as Hoarder comes over here, looking for maybe a tower dive, trying to lock down this Kaisa. Dr. Calculus finally online, picking up kill after kill, trying to lock down this Samikid. Samikid needs a stun, but I think they're only going to find death instead, as Hoarder is the only one left here holding the bag, the only one left on his team, and Team A is looking better and better as the game goes on, Quacks.
And I feel like this is what we said Team B needed to start doing, looking for fights, trying to get some kind of gold into your pocket ahead of this dragon in about 1 minute and 30 seconds. But it also feels like you are funneling gold into Team A at the same exact time. I mean, Shimmer almost has 4 items. Sushi as well is getting closer and closer to that 4-item spike on the Kaisa as well, just hit 3. So a lot of these carries on the opposite team are also getting a good amount of gold injected into them for this all-important soul fight. So it does feel like it's going to come down to execution at the end of the day. You got gold. They got gold. Who is able to make the most of it? Because that is going to determine whether this soul point will be stalled out for another, or whether the soul rather will be stalled out for another 5 minutes, or if Team A will get a massive objective. And also keep in mind, Baron is up. If a team wins this fight hard on top of the objective, they could also go for the Baron. So this could be a really damning fight for the losing team. Good route there from Hoarder. As at the end of the day, it does feel like the Cloud Soul really valuable for both teams. His curtain call is going to be dropped here. Enthralled. Going to be looking for
there
shots.
It is, curtain call.
Yep.
Trying to lock down the Sushi, but once again, Sushi's just able to escape. We're gonna pick up a stun as Dr. Calculus puts themselves in between danger, able to dodge the stun.
Shimmer!
Mel, as Semikin comes there in the background. That hammer and anvil is strong. So much damage back and forth. Kaisa trying to follow it up, but they've got to worry about the Monkey King getting so close to going down. 1 Ladybug's worth of HP as Adam's able to pick down the Monkey King, taking him out. Enthralled is in danger. Also, on Ladybug's worth of HP, Dr. Calculus stepping up a little bit too much, getting it taken down. And only Manui and a extremely low mana Adam are here, and this is a lot of back and forward quacks for a trade, a 2v2 trade?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a 2v2 trade, but it's also both junglers down, and I think Team B getting enough space to where they can go on to the Dragon. They will deny the soul from Team A, but they don't win it so hard that they can instantly transition it into a Baron. So that will still stand. As Sushi is going to look for a tower. Maybe overstaying his welcome here. Has to be very careful of Rovex, who won't commit for the fight. But yeah, really, it felt like... It just feels like Hoarder is invincible at this point. I mean, he's got 4 items, and he also has the Swifty. So he's not going to be deterred from a champion that he wants to kill. He's Jason Voorhees on the map.
A very good point, and I see the analogy for sure. And I like what Team A does here immediately. Despite that fight not going maybe the way they want it to, they recognize that the other team hasn't even touched the objective, so they immediately rush down Nashor, and they've got it ready to go. Sure, they don't have their hands on Soul, but Baron is quite the consultation prize.
Yeah, I mean, Baron is a little bit more than a consultation prize, especially because it's only first Dragon technically for Team B. And I would say the Baron is definitely more worth it. At the end of the day. The question is,
Hoarder.
Hang on, Hoarder.
In a bad position. Manui gonna pick up the knockup. Looks like Cassante are able to follow it up. Shimmer just absolutely taking down Hoarder. And I want you to remember, Hoarder is fed. This is a fed Garen. That 1-2 punch is absolutely insane. Sure, she may be 9-6, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like she's got 16 kills.
Yup, and now with the Baron in a 4v5 situation as Calculus is in a 1v3.
Dr. Calculus once again overstepping it, but his team is here to follow it up. Shimmer looking for the damage. Curtain call does open up, and it's only going to buy a little bit of time for them to make their way in, as once again Shimmer picks up another kill. LeBlanc doing the same thing, avenging her ADC as this turns into a weird 2-for-2 trade as Baron hammers down the mid lane.
Yup, they have the Baron above Koryak, and sure, they lose a couple of members, but they are still going to make the most of it. They knock down the mid-tier 1, or mid-tier 2 rather. Sushi is now just aggressing onto Tahe.
May as well find it. Cyclone is going to get blown, and the kill still ultimately happens to the other side. This is looking great for Team A. I don't know what happened between this game and the previous game, but they definitely tied things up. I think the positioning for Dr. Calculus has been a little bit better. He's hasn't made the same mistakes, you know, and I think he's hanging in there. He's not doing as well as Hoarder, but the team synergy is way, way stronger than it was before. Adam having to blow their ultimate there on LeBlanc, but it looks like Zonia is going to keep them alive as Hoarder comes in, trying to lock down the Morgana as they fall, but they do actually manage to pick up a kill, so that's not the worst trade. Adam, despite getting killed left and right, continues to find value over and over and over, Quacks.
Yeah, Adam with his 3rd death, still in a really good position as the Morgana, not necessarily needing to be the carry, but the carry this game, I feel like, on top of the Kiana, who we've talked about at length, Koryak, has to be this Kaisa, right? And Sushi, I think, has been performing really well in the late game. because this really is, I think, where he's at his best. A lot of people like to say that Sushi's Thorn is his laning phase, but once he leaves that laning phase, he becomes an absolute monster, as Hoarder is going to just be completely surrounded.
Manui, a lot of ultimates getting blown down on him, but I don't really blame them for it. Sure, there's 1 minute and 30 seconds on the clock, which means that the positioning should be in the favor for Team A for this sole point. Garen being down, which means he's only going to have, what, 30 seconds to make it to the objectives, give or take, depending on the math. So I do like this. They may have blown a lot of abilities, but I think a lot of those will be up before the Drake is.
And also being able to push a lot of these waves, because Hoarder is usually the guy on the side lane mission. He's usually the guy pulling that pressure, and because he's down for another 30 seconds, like you said, Koryak, Calculus can push up this wave, put it in Team A's favor, and we can see because of that, Shimmer is able to look in some of these deeper nooks and crannies for a pick possibly onto the Jhin, maybe even the Mel if he's lucky. This is exactly what we wanted to see ahead of the Dragon.
And Shimmer being in the jungle is just the best place for them to fight for a million different reasons. There's so many options for them to play their entire
elements,
kit off
ult,
of. And to add Morgana into the mix along with Dr. Calculus, Jinobu looking for some sort of in, trying desperately to make their way across the map, trying to get some vision, but it's so hard. This is another scary team to go into for the jungle, and 20 seconds ticking down as Hoarder tries to add pressure for the mid lane.
Hoarder's really trying to call of Team A toward him, and it looks like he's succeeding as Adam is on the chase, but Team B are simultaneously split as well, and I feel like this is a comp that you want to try and front to back, especially when you have that Wukong. You have to be very compact as Shimmer forces the Zanyas.
That is a powerful tool down. They're just still sort of
Manui.
playing it safe as Manui goes forward. Unfortunately, not able to get a good Nico ult. Hoarder going in, trying to find some sort of angle, trying to lock him down, but he's only going to find a clone instead. And this positioning is all over the place. Hoarder taking at least a decent amount of damage, but that is going to be a tough beefcake to crack as this is looking really weird. I don't know who has the advantage right now, Quacks.
You can see Team B, they're trying to use the mid wave and then apply pressure to the bot side river, but they're not completely
picking
compact.
up a lot of damage.
Hoarder.
Jinobu doing the same thing. Jinobu biting
He's
off
alone.
Pikachu,
The jungler is down.
Curtain call does open up as Dr. Calculus tries to 1v3. It just doesn't happen. Shot after shot, trying to lock down Manui. This can still go either way, but it looks like Hoarder's taking an absolute pounding. The Drake ultimately falls to the side of Team A. This is exactly what they want. Sushi going on the other side. Shimmer fighting back and forth with the support. Now Sushi trying to find those kills, trying to dig deep. They are indeed going to find it, picking up a 4th kill, and that's so many dead on the other side as Hoarder has to run to mid lane to force backs.
Shimmer with the absolute mind control 6-pack play. He flash ults as the ignite is killing him.
Absolutely phenomenal, Quacks, and for the longest time I didn't know how that fight was going to go. Manui up is having once again just stun root after root, locking down this Garen. Garen still has a million HP and a lot of regen. Rocket Belt getting used there, but just Hoarder is just allowed to walk out. Garen doing Garen things. The 10-5 Garen. Manui trying to lock him down, but that's such a tall order, Quacks.
And you can see that pings are being signaled toward the Baron, but Team A can't really start it. They've got everyone down. They've got everyone up except for the jungler, so they need to be waiting for Shimmer to enter this fight before they can even think about going for a neutral. So that death tempo coming possibly in handy, because now Team A are going to find it a little bit more difficult to siege this topside river, as we can see that Team B are already in the area ready to look for these kinds of picks onto Sushi, who now is full build, by the way. This Kaisa is has a lot of damage in her pocket. As you can see, one Prey Seeker basically half healthing Rovex.
And the nice thing I really love about what Garen is doing, that Hoarder specifically is doing, is they're leveraging their movement speed to just get so much done. They got themselves the Scuttle Crab right there, which provided a little bit of breathing room for the other side. TP coming in, Nasher sitting about half a HP. Curtain Call does open up, looking for an angle there on Shusi. Now, they're just trying so hard to get back in there as Dr. Calculus just takes shot after shot. Now, the jungle on the other side so far down. Sammykin able to find a stun, but that means that's going to be another powerful tool down for this fight, and I'm not sure where this is going. Nobody is wanting to take Nasher. No real advantage on either side. Manui taking a bit of extra damage, going down about half HP, but the rebuttal coming in with another powerful tool, and they go down immediately, locking them down, but they are going to die for it. Jin trying to dig deep and find the damage, and Thrall trying to take him down, but that's a very, very powerful Dr. Calculus, able to take down Jinobu. Slow motion effect, not sure what that was. Lots of vision out, back and forward as the Zonia comes in, but it's only going to delay the death of LeBlanc as she walks directly into Adam, but Adam unfortunately misses the Q, and I think things are looking grim for Team B, Quacks. That's another 4 kills on the side of Team A.
I mean, it was a really risky play there from Shimmer. Sure, you find Samikin, but you're also sacrificing your life when an objective is up. If that team fight had gone the other way, Team B could very well find themselves on the Baron ready to take it. But it's Team A that managed to find Jinobu, and they get the jungler for Team B down, and now they're the ones on the Baron, but Hoarder, all right, let's see it. Lore accurate. Garen, can he do it?
Manui no longer having that ultimate is going to be a very powerful tool, no longer out. Adam taking one for the team, trying to buy time, trying to root down Hoarder, trying to lock him down, and indeed it's going to happen. Angry Bee comes out because that's going to be a dead Nasher for the side of Team A. Another powerful tool, and that's the second Baron they've been able to get their hands on top of the Soul. And look at the gold now, Quack, 75k to 79k in the favor of Team A.
Yeah, gold though. Feeling like as the minutes go by, it's going to be a little bit less relevant considering almost everybody in this game, or close to everybody in this game, is nearing full build. Baron, though, like you said, taken by Team A. And now I feel like if this is what Hoarder is going to be doing, if he's going to be looking for these sides, he's looking for a flank, actually, as the fight has started.
Looking for it. Cyclone does come out, but they ultimately get taken down. Curtain Call struggling to find out the damage. LeBlanc going over the other side of the wall. Shimmer getting so close to going down, ultimately going to fall to the Ignite as Hoarder goes over the wall, but is still taken down, and that's a triple kill on the Kaisa. Sushi absolutely online. Quacks pointed out that we need to keep our eyes on Sushi, and we're definitely seeing that in game number 2 at almost 40 minutes.
This game has gone really long, but I think Sushi has maintained his form all throughout the 40 minutes that we have seen of him here in game number 2. The wave is going to pour in along with the Baron. Samikin is the last line of defense for the next 15 to 20 seconds while he waits for his team to respawn. I think a inhibitor is probably what Team A will find, but I don't know if they can do anything beyond that, Koryak.
Absolutely, and I've got to say that the pick here for Morgana, that spell shield over and over has just bought everybody so much, team. Samikin could have nuked Kaisa right there just with that small little bitty interaction, but Morgana just popping one ability on her provided so much breathing room, and it continues happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just about Sushi versus Samikin at this point, with Hoarder being the side character. You know, he's like the roadie to Samikin's Iron Man, right? Or the Falcon to Captain America. So we'll have to see what happens with this last fight. Baron about to wane. Oh,
Manui once again trying to go in and trying to find some sort of angle. Just they're not allowing it to happen. Hoarder is getting caught out a little bit,
Shimmer
there it is. Shimmer actually getting rebuttal. That's got to be frustrating to deal with as Sushi now needs to pick up the pieces. They need to lock down Samikin. Zonia's is going to get popped. Curtain Call does open up. They've got to keep Sushi alive. Sushi is their best chance to turn this fight around as we do pick up a kill on Sushi. Dr. Calculus coming there in the back line. We're back to a 3v3 with Jin just a little bit too far away, but the
Elder is up.
He's adding pressure to mid, and yes, indeedy, we do have Elder on the horizon, Quacks.
And you bullied all of Team A off of the top side. They're going to have to reset and get back onto the map, which means that Team B, they can set up vision around this objective. They can get waves in their favor before it starts. They're just going to go for it right off of rip. Neither team has a jungler, which means it's not really a smite 50-50. It's a team 50-50.
Absolutely, Adam able to pick up a phenomenal
big
stun,
Q.
locking down the LeBlanc. LeBlanc dead before they
Who's gonna get it?
Dr. Calculus pinning people directly into the wall. The damage coming in from
Finish
Sushi.
the
Trying to
dragon!
lock down Hoarder. Dr. Calculus finally finding his voice, taking him down. And Kaisa picking up an ace. You didn't keep your eye on the Sushi. And now Sushi is taking out your base.
And it's Dr. Calculus and Adam that get there first. They don't have a wave, but the wave is going to be pouring in. They're going to stall out Tai as much as they can. One turret will fall. Sushi finally joins the fray, and Tai will try his best, but it won't be enough.
Absolutely phenomenal game, Quacks. That ties our score up 1-1. But what a great performance by everyone on the side of Team A. I think they spent plenty of time in that intermission period, pricking a lot of those thorns and just shaping up their gameplay and shaping up their synergy. It took them a little bit longer to come online than you might like, but still, it looks like the caffeine clearly hit at one particular moment, Quacks.
Yeah, absolutely. And the caffeine was up and running for Sushi the entire game. I mean, this man was on a tear. He was a little bit stalled out in the early game on the Kaisa, but this is a common thing, a common, I would say, consensus with Sushi, who is obviously still under the banner of like the developmental player, right? Where he's really good in the mid to late game. He navigates team fights absolutely expertly, but the laning phase has always been something that people get a little bit worried about. He hasn't had that 2v2 power in those laning phases to really push his lead forward in the first 14 minutes of the game. And I don't necessarily think that he shored up that weakness in this game. He did have some moments in the early game that were nice on the Kaisa, but it really showed his strengths, right? It really showed that once this guy links up with the rest of his team, he is a force to be reckoned with. 17, 6, and 15. Just a phenomenal game from him. And if we can see another performance like that, I think that it should be Team B, or rather Team A, able to possibly take the block 3 here. But still, Team, Samikin in particular, I think having a really good game on the Mel. So I'm looking forward to seeing what else he can do, because like we talked about for game number 1, he was the big boy in that match.
Absolutely. And I'm kind of curious to see what Hoarder is going to look like on a more macro-oriented champion. Not that Garen can't do it, but, say if he got his hands on a Scion or someone to that effect, I want to see how that plays out. I do think that this is a good note of why meta picks are typically powerful. Although this is a great place to limit test, I do think the LeBlanc fell just a bit short of where it needs to be, despite them having phenomenal plays. I think Nico being a little bit more of a meta pick had a bit of an impact, despite Manui missing a couple of ultimates. They still absolutely chunked and did a decent amount of damage and bought time and stuns and a lot of surprise for the rest of their team to come on, and then Sushi came and carried. Either way, we're going to go into a break. I think this one should be a little bit shorter according to Prod. I don't know exactly what the timer is, so I'm not going to make the same mistake I made last time. I'm not going to give you a time frame, but watch out for the timer. And stay tuned, because we do have more on the horizon. You won't want to miss this game number 3. Alrighty, here we go from break 2 into draft number 3. Quacks. So many bans, so many champions no longer on the table. Probably going to expect here focusing on Sammy Ken once again, which means it's really going to be on him. But the thing that's nice that we're seeing here is Sammy Ken doesn't have to just carry the game by themselves. They have other people to take charge. Hoarder was such a big proponent to that last game, and then small item of housekeeping, just like Quack said. We got an immediate side switch as Team A has now moved back over to blue and Team B on red.
Yeah, so I like that you talked about that with Samikin. Obviously, he was a really big proponent in game number 1, being able to carry on that Seraphine, and then game number 2 had a lot of really good moments on the Mel, but his champion pool is slowly but surely getting pinched over, and we can already see that Team A want to focus him down again. We can see a lot more emphasis is being paid for Samikin on the bans when Team A are on blue, simply because you can R3 or R5 one of those pocket picks. I think that red side gives you more of an avenue to look for those pocket picks, because you can do so as a counter. You don't have to do so blind on that side, right? So we are going to be seeing from Team B, though, just a lot of those B1 champions. The Azir is a good takeaway. I expect we'll probably continue the pattern of having Orianna immediately after that. And curiously enough, no Scion. So I do think Scion would probably be another very wise R3 or B1 ban here from the blue side, simply because that Trundle also taken off the board could prove to have a lot of value if Team A can immediately snag that one up.
And something I've kind of noticed, between game 1 and game 2 is that we keep throwing in elements of just a little bit of weird things here and there, and I don't think that's the worst thing. It shows that LeBlanc can find a voice, that Nidalee can find a voice, and that some of these sort of off-meta picks are still relatively viable. You do suffer, but you have to play around it. So I'll be very, very surprised if we don't see that going forward, and why not? This is the best time for you to test it at such a high level, and just one weird element is something you can plan around, and I think we've seen that. First couple of bans are out. No real changes from what I could see in both the Azir, the Orianna, the Scion. All of that makes a lot of sense. Talia is so powerful. I think people underestimate like how annoying Talia can be to play into.
She's very strong right now.
Trundle.
She's absolutely one of the best mid laners in the game, and we could see now that Team A, like we said on the blue side, that Scion taken away. I think you could still go for like a fighter jungler if you wanted to on B1 here. Obviously, Xin Zhao and Wukong are the kind of the big ones at the current moment, but you still have things like the Vi if you wanted to go for that, if you wanted to kind of play for pushing lanes around that. And it seems like, although they won't B1 the Vi, that could still be a viable angle here. Haha. Pun intended, for Team A, because you have the Aurora, right? Aurora Vi is one of the better combos here at the current moment, because you do have that pushing lane, and because Vi can lay down that CC for Aurora to find that full combo onto any one target. As Samikin is also gonna just continue picking his style of play. I mean, this is a very big bonus for this player, and what I think makes him so fun to watch, right? A lot of people are fans of Samikin in the NACL because he very much has his style. He sticks to his guns, and so that does mean a Hui here for the third game of this block.
And I like this as an answer to Aurora. I don't see these two picks simultaneously, because usually they either get banned out or one of them gets banned out, so we don't get to see them bump heads too much. And both of them are new enough to me to where I'm not entirely sure how it would work, but just kind of taking some quick speculations on it. We do have Aurora. Aurora doesn't have the world's best range, but as soon as you close that gap, as soon as she finds that angle, she absolutely nukes you and your entire team. But the same thing could be said for Hui. Hui's abilities are massive, plus the range that he has. You mentioned that Samikin loves to get their hands on these sort of artillery mages, and I think Hui counts there.
He absolutely does. This is one of Samikin's best champions, and so he's just going to take that one up. And we can see also Bard going to be picked up here for Manui. Now, I think this is one of his best champions when he was on Conviction all the way back in the spring split. I think he knows the roam timers of this champion really well. It's also a good denial because Ashe Bard is a pretty relevant duo at the current moment. Bard obviously being able to roam toward the top side, Ashe being able to hold down the fort as one of the perennial weak side ADC picks in the current meta. So I like that it's not only a comfortable pickup for Manui, but also a good denial from what Team B are ideally wanting to go and play around.
We are getting the hub here for Emilio, and while Emilio is very powerful, I feel like they've struggled to find their voices. Poppy is a good choice. I like this. I believe Poppy both interacts positively with Jarvan, absolutely shutting down that super powerful flag and drag, and then I believe it affects Aurora's ultimate as well if they're able to predict where they're going to end up, and then it just kind of shuts down so many dash champions. But even if they just focus on shutting down the flag and drag from Jarvan, that's a powerful tool out of the tool belt for Team A.
And now I think it's going to kind of be on Team A to find some of these other sources of engage, right? Because you do have the flag and drag that you said is really powerful, Koryak, to get stuff started, and then later you'll have the Cataclysm. But I do think that they would be all the wiser to look for something that is capable of engaging, particularly on that top side. I think that Dr. Calculus, a lot of people, when people think, especially in recent memory, to Dr. Calculus at his best, they think about the open qualifiers in summer of last year, where he was really just demolishing people in the lane. But on top of that, he was also really good at finding those engage angles. So I do think that if we put him on something capable of starting up a fight, that would really round out Team A's comp nicely. But it doesn't seem like Team B are too concerned about that. They're concerned about making sure that Sushi doesn't get his comfort champions on top of Manui getting his comfort champion in the bar. They're taking away the Ezreal. I wouldn't be surprised if they take away just another weak side AD carry. The Caitlyn is obviously one that he's really good on as well. Misfortune is also potentially up, and I do think that there could be an angle for Sushi to maybe pick that one up if he wanted to, because there is a lot of lockdown with the Cataclysm on top of the Tempered Fate. So it seems like you have good setup for an effective bullet time here if you're Team A, but I am not sure what they want to do. Maybe they want to give Sushi a little bit more mobility, because there is that Enchanted Crystal Arrow and pick tools on top of Poppy that can punish some immobile members of this Team A squad.
Last couple of bans coming down for sure hard on Hoarder, locking down that Gwen, locking down the Renekton, both very, very powerful tools. But this also means that Ornn is up. This would be a great pick right here. I think it pairs really well into Poppy. It adds a lot of front line. It's a great blind pick. At least for me, I really, really like that here for it. Not that Ornn can't get countered, but Ornn is deceptively powerful in the early game. He's a lot like Sion, where people don't expect him to absolutely chunk people, but he can still find a lot of these first bloods. And we're going to get Pyke. So Poppy jungle and Pyke support?
Yeah, that looks like it, and also gives some much-needed damage over to Team B as well. That was my biggest concern. You do have the Ashe, and, I mean, Hui does have damage as well, but it takes a little bit of time to get going, right? So I do think Pyke gives them some sources of damage, particularly in the laning phase. Also is a champion that can match Bard in roaming, right? You get this Pyke with like a Sork shoes, or you give him, or not Sork shoes, you give him with like Swifties, or maybe you even give him with like symbiotic souls, and you just allow him to run around the map and match Manui in a lot of these cross map plays. I think that could be a legitimate strategy here, and it seems like it's one that both teams will be adopting, as we do see Sushi picking up the Sivir, which signals to me at least that Manui is not interested in this laning phase, and Rovex isn't either. So this isn't really a battle of the bot laners here. We've seen both Sushi and Enthralled pop off respectively in this block 3 so far. And now I think it's time to give more of a spotlight over to this top side, as we're seeing a lot of really strong picks coming up here, as it seems like Sylas will be the mid laner and Aurora will be the top laner. They do that blind though, which does mean Hoarder has counter into this matchup, and I like Yorick into Aurora for sure.
Absolutely, and we've seen what Hoarder can do on Garen. I mentioned, I think in the previous draft, I think when we were wrapping things up, that I really want to see more macro power in the side of Yorick and or in the side of Hoarder, and Yorick is definitely in that wheelhouse. So that's going to be such a powerful tool they can levy, especially if they're trying to get a bit of a gold advantage on their side. The thing they have to worry about is Sivir is always this ticking time bomb. As soon as they hit those 4 items, they just become this, I won't say unkillable god, but this just absolute powerhouse of damage to watch out for. And I think having Pyke on the other side for Team B, if the spell shield's not up, can really disrupt Sivir in a lot of different ways. Even though Pyke isn't super crazy meta, he still serves a really good purpose. And I like the note that you pulled up there when it came between Pyke and Bard. Just the sheer roamability between Pyke and Bard is great, and it's such a great matching tool. Something I didn't think about, but makes a lot of sense, Quacks.
Right, but I will say I think that the kind of caveat to Pike is that we've seen him a few times in competitive. Like we saw
Mhm,
Duro obviously pull him out at MSI. We've seen
mhm.
Busio pull out this champion on FlyQuest a few times. And the big theme that I've always seen from this character is that he's got a lot of really good angles in the early to mid game, but some pikes get really, really confused on what to do toward that late game, right? Where you're not able to look for these picks with impunity when you can get punished, when you can get found if you are out of position. So I think Rovex is going to really need to turn up the gas in these first 14 to 20 minutes, at least before the Otacon spawns, and we see Team A really start to group up as a unit, because that just kind of seems like what their comp wants to do. You've got the Jarvan, you've got the Sivir, you've got the Aurora, you've got all of these big AoE spells. This is a Deathball comp if ever I've seen one. And Pyke historically does struggle into Deathball comps like this. So you need to make sure that you are picking them apart before they can form together. And that does mean that puts you on a timer as the Team B support to make stuff happen.
And I think if Pike is able to get some early advantages and shut down Sushi and just deny them over and over and over, that'll increase the time of that timer. The thing I'm worried about here for Team B, when just sort of looking at it, is I think there's going to be so much pressure on the backs of Samikin and Hoarder, because even if Enthralled gets fed on Ashe, Ashe isn't known for super hyper carrying games. They're known for just sort of being solid. They have great utility, they have great damage kind of consistently throughout the game, but they're not this like super crazy carry like Sushi is. So that's something they really have to watch out for. And the fact that we have Flag and Drag, however, we do have Poppy, which I prefer this to be Poppy jungle, which it is. The fact that we have Poppy can counteract the Flag and Drag, which will be so important for locking down Samikin. Less so worried about Hoarder, but providing the defense, providing the peel for Samikin is going to be so important, and I love the Poppy there for it.
Yeah, for sure. I think Poppy provides a good amount of disengage and some much needed appeal for these immobile carries on the side of Team B. I will say that that is also another point where I'm a little bit concerned, right? Because you have a Hui, you have an Ashe, and you have a Yorick. And so if you have these pick tools like the Flag and Drag, like these Abscond Abducts, and like these Tempered Fates, they land on any one of these members that I just mentioned on the side of Team B, those guys might as well be dead. So I think that it's going to be a question of not overstaying your bounds. And that's kind of a theme that we've seen all throughout the Cyto Combine, right? Where some of these players will go for a side lane play, they'll go for a side lane push, and they will just barely be stepping their bounds, maybe looking for half a wave, maybe looking for a turret plate. They will just slightly overexert themselves on a side wave and get punished for it. And I feel like for the case of Team B, with how immobile you are and how mobile Team A is and how quick they can play, this is a game where you cannot afford to do that, because you will get punished. The gold will be found onto these very front-loaded damage-dealing members of Team A, and you could get shut out much quicker than you expect, and especially before this Hui, this Ashe, and this York can actually come online, Koryak.
Absolutely, Quacks, and we can speculate till we are blue in the face. We've laid down our prediction, set things up for the games to go forward, but ultimately we have to wait for the players to get in game to see pen apply to paper. So give us about 2, maybe 3 minutes. I don't know. We'll see if the timer makes me a liar here in this, but just give us a couple of minutes while we wait for the players to get in game while we go into a short break. At last, Quacks, here we are moving into game number 3. All of our theories, all of our quandering will be put to the test into this one, and so will the commitment of each side. I don't suspect we're going to get any 5-man stacks. We don't have a Braum, and we do not have a Blitzcrank, so should be starting off slow.
Yeah, we're probably not going to get anything too big for the level 1s. Maybe some vision as to where the junglers will be starting in this game as... contrary to what we saw in games number 1 and 2, where either one or both of the junglers were on some kind of a carry role, this game I feel like it's neither, right? You have facilitators in Jarvan and you have facilitators in Poppy, so understanding where the jungler is more important for which lane he'll end up impacting at the end of his clear, rather than what side of the map he specifically will end up on, and maybe you can try to punish that. So that is what I'm looking at for this game, right? How can the junglers really impact the lanes, particularly the top side, and get their carries ahead? Particularly that mid lane Adam on someone like a Sylas can be extremely volatile, and Samikin on one of his best comfort picks, something that he has piloted since his inception into the competitive side of League of Legends, and something that he's really made a name for with himself.
Well, and I'm also noticing a bit of a change here. Both Janobu and Simmer have really wanted to start in the top part of their jungle and then rotate their way down for the bot lane, but it seems to be the opposite this time around. Pyke looking for some sort of angle, is going to pull Bard up. Bard sitting about half HP, enthralled, trying to find out the damage, but Sivir still hurts a good chunk in this early game. Pyke able to get a lot of regen back and forth, but that's a good early start. I like that, this early regression here with Pyke, and why not use it now when Sivir is at her weakest?
Level 2 dinged for Manui and Sushi. Stun lands.
Oh, enthralled, getting so close to going down. Just having about 100 HP left, now sitting at about 150. So we do still have the damage on the side of Sivir and kind of biting themselves in the butt a little bit. The thing I think we need to watch out for, though, Quacks, is I'm going to say it now. I think we need to watch out for the ganks for Janobu. Poppy is a lot more powerful in the early game than I think people give her credit for, and we might be seeing something right now, Quacks.
He manages to dodge out on the vision, but they're still level 2.
There it is. Pyke going in, looking for an angle. Manui trying to pull their way and take down the other side, but it's just not going to happen as the flash comes in, and the Poppy finds the stun, locking them into the wall. Bits of damage back and forward. We should have it here. There should be a kill on the side of Janobu. Just needs 1 or 2 more shots, maybe, but they still have to watch out. Sivir hurts more than people are expecting, and Sushi is actually able to pick up not 1, but 2 kills as Flag and Drag comes in and locks down Samikin. Samikin in trouble. He was here for a gank, but he only found death instead, as that's already 4 kills in less minutes in this game 3. And look at that, 2-0 on Sivir already.
And Sushi, with the fancy footwork, manages to dodge out everything Team B throws his way. He even baits in Samikin to the fight. Shimmer is able to pick that one up, finally gets something for pathing down toward that bot side. We ask questions about it because we really emphasize the importance of this top lane matchup, but it ends up paying off. Jarvan picks up one early. Now Manui gonna hold this wave, and Sushi gonna get a whole lot of minions to feed into that coal that he bought off the reset.
Absolutely, and I don't think you can ask for a better start. Sure, Pyke died, but, you know, I think people forget supports very much so are the pawn piece in chess, where they can be very, very powerful. But if you can trade a pawn for an objective, if you can trade a pawn to get Sivir 2 kills, absolutely take it every single time you can. And I think we saw it there. Manui trying to dig deep and find a little bit of damage. Did blow a flash there, trying to salvage that, but really just the footwork, the positioning was so great. And honestly, I don't think there's a worse person that can get fed early on. Janobu looking for an angle on Aurora, but Aurora has plenty of time to sort of get out of there, and they might actually turn it into a bit of a kill as Hoarder takes an absolute hammering. But what's nice about this is Aurora is even lower on mana. She is up on pots, and York does have to watch out for it, but that should be a lot of pressure alleviated, hopefully.
And also helps Hoarder push in that wave. Should be able to reset after this one. It actually doesn't crash, so maybe he has to stay for one more. Calc, though, is pretty low on mana, so has to use those abilities sparingly, especially if he wants to look for the kill. Yeah, there we go. He still has flash, so he could look for something when that electrocute comes back up. Hoarder has to be very mindful of that.
really threading the needle here with this. This could still go either way. There it is. Dr. Calculus going to go in. Hoarder walking forward just a little bit, and look how close they are.
Wait,
That's
minions?
so little HP on
Oh.
both sides. Just 1 or 2 AA might be all it's going to take.
Oh.
There's the flash forward as the flash backwards keeps them alive, and somehow nobody dies in the top lane.
They're playing it on the knife's edge, and both managed to get out with their lives. Now Adam, dinging level 6, immediately stealing Hui's ultimate, whereas Samikin is only 5. They're going to use that along with the Prio to secure space for this dragon. I like this transition here from Team A. Team B are pinging to fight it, but they're down an ultimate. Samikin is still level 5.
And they're down a lot of HP too. Look at this absolute hammering.
Yeah.
The ult coming there in on Jinobu. Jinobu has nowhere else to go and has to dive directly into the team as Manui tries to go over the other side, locking down the Pike. Pike having an excellent 2-man stun, pulling Sushi almost under tower. That was almost a nice turnaround as Samikin finally rotating. And now Adam maybe overstaying his welcome on the Silas, having a flash over the wall. The Ignite comes down on his side, and Pike barely misses, just grabbing the butt hair as he walks away.
They do stop them from the dragon at the very least, and Adam is still in a pretty precarious spot on the map. He will get out with that abscon, but yeah, Team B, they lose a member, but they stop the dragon, and now all of Team A have redeployed and are doing so on the top side. You can see the swap has come through here. Sushi, with 3 kills in his back pocket and with Hoarder on no flash, does mean that this Yorick's lane is about to get a whole lot harder because of how much harass this Sivir can lay down. His Calculus overstaying his welcome, possibly.
No mana here on the side of Enthralled as they're absolutely taking a hammering. We're getting a lot of damage back and forward. Manui almost took that from the other side. I could feel it coming, but ultimately they let Dr. Calculus pick up the kill. Good play. I like the rotation, just like you were saying, Quacks, there for Sushi heading there in the top lane. And in about a minute, we have Void Grubs. At this point, with Sivir being fed with Void Grubs, that is wave clear paired with macro. And I think that's something where Team A is going to be really shooting for. They have the gold, they have the advantage, and they have the rotation. This would be so great for them to grab.
And they have the ult buds too, right? You could see that Tahe is also still level 5, whereas Shimmer already has that Cataclysm. And in order for the Poppy to get level 6, they actually have to be on the bot side of the map, thus surrendering control of that top side pit, so they won't have as much of a foothold for that objective if they want to get that ultimate. So Team A are going to make use of that as soon as possible. They're just going to go for the grubs on spawn. No contest here from Team B, which honestly, wise decision, right? Like we said, you're down ultimates, you're down gold, and there is a 3-0 Sivir in the back waiting to throw a boomerang in your face. So they wisely don't take the fight, and instead, it looks like they're pinging for a possible cross-map play. That dragon is still up, and they want to set up around it. That certainly is a possibility, but they would have to go quick.
Truly the best way out of a hole can be just stop digging, and I think we're seeing that here with the plays. And I think they can kind of play this out. They do still have York. York is going to be a permanent factor. Enthralled, having to watch out for it, having to blow Ghost, having to throw their ultimate down.
Oh,
ultimately
no
missing.
way.
The stun actually comes in, locking down Enthralled. Cataclysm to take down Enthralled. That's going to be really unfortunate, as looks like their response is going to be taking down Dr. Calculus, who thought he was safe in between his 2 turrets, but it just was not going to happen as 3 gank top and 3 gank the bottom.
And we could see that both teams looking for similar plays, but the difference is one will get a much bigger reward than the other. Because they have the grubs, they take those towers so much quicker. So sure, it's some gold for Team B, but it's more for Team A as well. And I got to go back to that pick onto Enthralled. That Q hitting and stunning from Manui, absolutely disgusting. That did not look like it connected. It just barely provided the stun to secure the kill. And you have to believe that Enthralled might have been out if that didn't connect. Really good stuff from Manui, showing his experience on the champion. And now we're 6-2 in kills. Dragon is still up even as the swaps continue. I'm really surprised that neither team has looked for anything on this objective since we saw that initial fight that broke the game open.
And I think an important note here is that Bard has hit that all-important ultimate, actually delaying Adam. I'm not sure if he saved Adam. I think he stopped him from getting a kill on Sammykin, so a little bit unfortunate, and that's going to be a powerful tool down outside of his belt, and that's quite the cooldown early on. I know it goes pretty quick, but even still, you know, level 6 Bard cooldown is something to worry about.
Ping's coming up toward the top side. Enthralled knows some, so has to be careful.
Manui looking
top.
for some sort of stun here on Thrall, but then unfortunately they're just not close enough to the wall as Sushi does find the damage. Just one more shot, maybe two, and they are going to find it right there at the end as Pike goes in, trying to lock down Sushi, but Manui right here in the face, exactly where they should be. TP coming in, number advantage will be in the side of red side as Poppy once again trying to find an angle, trying to lock down Sushi, but look how quickly Sushi is moving. Flag and drag coming in, Cataclysm doing the exact same thing as Sammykin immediately flashes outside of it, and Sushi narrowly dodges a hook to the face, and this fight could still go either way. Pike looking for an angle, posturing. Same thing here with Sammykin. You cannot underestimate the damage on Hui.
Bit of an unfortunate sequence of events there for Shimmer, or fortunate if you are Team B. He goes for the Cataclysm, but misses the flag and drag just barely, so isn't able to lock down Sammykin. They're going to keep going for an attempt here to just get more plates into Sushi. They don't have to look for the kills, they just zone them off and get more gold as Shimmer going in 1v3 though.
Shimmer having to force a good chunk of damage. He gets so close to taking down Jinobu, but it doesn't count. He ultimately falls to pieces, but at the very least, not only did Sivir make it out of there, but just like Quax said, those plates are going to be so important. Adam looking for an angle on Jinobu. They do have the damage. Poppy trying to lock him in the wall. Buy time, and it might just barely be enough. Yes, indeed. Somehow, Silas was not able to pick up a kill, but I think that just goes to show how powerful Poppy is for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, not really able to use the abscond abduct there to try and get the pick onto Tahe. So he gets out, escapes death not once but twice because Shimmer also looked for that play and wasn't successful. So Team B getting some advantages back. At the very least, they're stalling out Team A on this top side, but they're not really doing anything with it. Oh,
Arrow coming in. Blocking down the Pike. It looks like Pike's going to follow up with a stun immediately, so damage on top of damage, trying to get Manui, but it looks like the damage is actually going to happen on Sushi instead because they're absolutely fed, sitting at 5-0, and they might be able to walk away again. However, the slow is really powerful on the side of Enthralled as they get so close, but once again, another almost, and Sushi walks away with the kill. I hinted at supports being a pawn, and despite the fact that Manui died there, they absorbed so much and got a kill, or helped get a kill for Sushi.
Yeah, it was a good attempt there from Manui to just look for more picks, but ultimately Sammykin, just the presence of that Hui, able to turn the fight into a 1-for-1. Also really good on Sushi to, you know, show that discipline, not burn his flash despite being taken incredibly low. Will hold on to that for future fights. The fight in the top side is brewing.
Porter taking an absolute pounding as Pike comes over here for a bit of a reinforcement. Adam is in trouble. Running into York, and Pike is quite the difficulty to deal with. Going into the bush, trying to find some angle, getting so close to taking down Porter, but actually turning around.
He's gonna have Kingslayer soon.
Pike as Pike falls to pieces, but Adam has nowhere to go.
The Maiden!
Directly into the other side. It's Maiden versus Maiden, and it looks like nobody is maidenless in top lane as we pick up a kill with Sammykin in the bot lane, and that's actually gonna be a 2-for-0 trade, or 2-for-1 trade across the map.
Ooh, Calculus.
Flash forward by Dr. Calculus, missing Sammykin. Manui trying to follow it up,
one
but
HP.
so is Poppy on the other side. We're going to get the kill here by Manui. That's super great as Pike comes in and should be able to take out Manui. Yes, indeedy. Jinobu able to pick up a kill with the help of Pike as Hoarder starts to pound the top lane, and this might be delivering someone to their death.
Probably going to be able to go for the tower, but Adam maybe wanting some revenge for that 1v1. Won't be able to find it as the play places enough to get that Silas off his back. So it's pretty good for the Yorick, who honestly hasn't had a ton of acceleration in this game. He got that solo kill, but I think the big thing that we were looking for with Hoarder on this pick was getting and securing those grubs. And unfortunately, I mean, Team A got all three, so it does mean that that side lane presence from the Team B top laner is going to be significantly less scary for Team A to deal with, especially if this Aurora and this Silas, if their conditions are good, they should just be able to deal with the push that Yorick can provide.
And something to point out too is, you know, of course, all of the Void Grubs went to the side of Team A, so that wave clear and all of that damage on Sivir really make a difference. Even Aurora is benefiting from it, grabbing that objective in the bot lane, grabbing that tower. And we're just sort of, this is our 15-minute first drac, actually. A little bit of surprising there as it just goes down for free to the other side. And something I want to point out here is between Yuntal, between their runes, and now between the Drake, Sivir has a lot of movement speed.
Yeah, that is actually a really good point. I think Sushi has been proven pretty arduous to catch in this game, as he has not died a single time, and I think that Team A, their top priority is going to be keeping it that way, making sure that Sushi, that bounty, does not go over to anyone of merit on the side of Team B, as they just really want to take this turret, but there is also a Poppy, narrowly misses, and Manui, with his life flashing before his eyes, does escape that.
And Poppy really playing their pants off, trying to match everything they possibly can. Arrow coming in to lock down the Aurora as Pyke pulls them directly into Hoarder, and now the tower should die for free. Sure, Team A got their hands on that objective, but they've got to worry about this bot lane. This is the pressure of York as Shelly gets deployed by Shimmer in the top lane and should turn into a bit of a dive. Adam into Samikid, so much damage. Silas is so hard to deal with. Samikid absolutely having to run away, and they're on the wrong side of the map as Shelly continues to march down. Manui taking a healthy pounding from Aurora, and they're going back with Shelly. Quacks, they're going back with Shelly.
All right, he's dead. Shimmer.
There's just no way.
But like, look at the other side of the map. I mean, Shimmer holds them off for so long that Hoarder breaks open the base at less than 17 minutes into the game.
Absolutely, and now he's being hunted down by two, but you still got to worry about it. Getting close to York is something to watch out for, but Dr. Calculus does have damage, flashing forward, trying to find it. Trying to hammer it out. They're going to actually get it. Not only does he crack open the bot lane, but he cracks open Dr. Calculus.
It's not a hammer and a nail this time, Koryak. It's a shovel, and it is a ghoul that do the job. Hoarder. Wait. Okay, he does not get inhib. I thought those ghouls might have actually taken the inhibitor down with it, in which case that might have been pretty good for Team A, as they are going to get a bunch of waves essentially for free. And the dragon is not really in a place where it can be threatened, so that would have actually been good if the inhibitor went down. But still, it's not good that Hoarder has taken this much of the map. This really extends the vision line for Team B, and also, I mean, look at the gold difference between the two top laners. 9,500 to 6,100. 3.4k gold to be exact difference between these top laners. It's not even like Calculus has been doing bad in this game. I mean, this Aurora is only 1 in 3. It's just all of the tower gold has solely gone over to the York, and now the man is essentially a raid boss.
Adam having to worry about a 3-man gate TP coming in. This should be a dead Silas. However, if he can do a bit of a trade, it would be the worst thing. He might actually be able to get out. Pyke looking for some sort of angle, but just not wanting to go in on Silas. Silas is still an absolute monster to deal with as the crystalline arrow goes in on Sushi, but ultimately is unsuccessful to cleanse. No, actually not a cleanse. It was just a flash. Okay, so they just waited it out. I thought we had a cleanse there. I guess we do have a chalice on Manui.
Yep. Manui getting through the portal, manages to escape death once again. The Bard special, living on 1 HP and walking away. Happy chime noises ensuing as, nope, never mind!
Way to curse him, Coax. He was out until you said something. But Manui falling to pieces, a little bit of gold going to the side of Pyke isn't the worst thing, but still something to watch out for. Something a little bit harder to deal with is Samikid into Dr. Calculus. Look at all this damage. Mage battle, back to mage battle, but Shimmer here to interrupt the 1v1, dealing a lot of damage as Sushi comes out of nowhere and picks up a 6th kill. Look at that. 2 items, maybe 2.5 if you include boots, and Sivir's so scary.
But immediately, Team A recognized we have to get to the bot side. York is pushing yet again. And we have to take care of that wave, as Dragon is also up in about 30 seconds, so we have to make sure we're also on this part of the map. Order is going to be such a pain to deal with unless they can pick him off here, which it doesn't look like they're going to be able to do. Maybe they kill his grandma, though. All right, they got his grab.
Maiden going down, Crystalline Arrow coming in, but it looks like Sushi's immediately going to stop it with a spell shield as Manui once again continuing the Bard special, escaping just in the nick of time. But we've got to worry about Pyke, and most importantly, we've got 8 seconds on the clock for this next objective, and I think the favor is in Team B based off of the wards and the damage.
Enthralled's conditions aren't the greatest, though. I mean, he has basically no mana on this Ashe, but that's not going to matter if Team A don't look for a contest. They are in the area, so maybe they want to try and look for a fight after the fact and transition that into an Otacon, which is also spawned on the bot side of the map. But it does feel like, as of now, the only piece on Team A that can actually deal with this front line and deal the damage necessary to win these fights is Sushi on this Sivir.
Order.
That tower is not going to protect my friend.
Coming down, but so is the one from Cataclysm, trying to lock them down. Poppy able to keep Hoarder alive just in time to earn up a kill, but he's still going to fall to pieces because the damage. Sivir is still here. Sushi duking it out, still continuing to absolutely nuke everyone. Adam picking up a kill there on Poppy, and now the Ashe going to go down. That's a double kill for the side of Sushi. Once again, doing it again. You didn't keep your eyes on the Sivir, and Sivir took out your whole team.
Yup, Sushi once again arriving to the fight, making a world of difference. And you have to feel like that fight could have been prevented on the side of Team B. I think Hoarder was up a little too far there. I mean, that tower was essentially at 1 HP, so him being there, I think, was possibly a mistake, as that is not going to protect you. Nonetheless, though, Team A don't win out on the fight so much so that the Otacon is actually in any real danger. That wave on bot is still in a neutral position. Adam is going to the bot side to try and change that, but it does feel like neither team is able to gain enough ground to where they can functionally get an objective for their efforts. And I feel like the team that is capable of doing that may tip it into their control. It's on a nice edge here, Koryak. That's 100% the truth.
Absolutely, but I think something to watch out for is this ticking time bomb still continues to tick in the favor of Team A. Sivir has 3 items getting so close, but York still doesn't get a lot of damage.
Oh my god.
Sushi
Wait, the ghouls are 1v1 again.
York's not even really there. A fight, a rumble in the jungle as Jinobu does get caught. Ash trying to buy themselves some time. Samikin getting a pretty decent ultimate, trying to dish out.
Sushi's down.
Damage. Ash cannot be ignored whatsoever. Lots of damage back and forward. Sushi falling there in the background as Team B is slowly falling apart. They've got to watch out for. They do have the damage turning things around, and that's a full ace on the side of Team A. Team B found their rhythm, took down the Sivir, and won that game, and this might turn into an Otacon.
Yeah, I mean, Sivir falls in the background. Hoarder expended his flash to look for that pick after the ghouls tore his health asunder. It's a massive win here for Team B. The Dragons at this point feel like a non-factor in the game. It's still one apiece for these teams, so the Otacon is going to be the big advantage that Team B were looking for that put them over the line and ahead of Team A. They'll take a couple of towers for their efforts. And a monstrous fight, a monstrous pick there for Hoarder as well is all that was needed.
Absolutely. And something I want to point out here is, Enthralled has done this a couple of times on Ashe. They really understand their champion. Sure, they might be 2 and 4, but KDA doesn't stop your base from blowing up. Ashe provided so much utility, so much time for everybody to come in and do the damage, and Hoarder compounded it by taking out the top of the other side, taking out that Sivir. Bard ult, missing Jinobu. There's going to be 2 powerful tools down, both Flash and Bard ult, but I think the Bard ult comes back significantly quicker. Enthralled, scouting things out. Fight going in, taking a whole bunch of damage. Gonna get taken down by Shimmer. So that you're really gonna watch out for Cataclysm locking down Enthralled. That's 2 kills already as Sushi takes a whole bunch of damage from Samikin. Dr. Calculus providing a little bit of space as Silas pushes in the bot lane. No objective to fight for though, just quite yet. We got about 1 minute and 13 seconds for the next Drake and 40 seconds on the Baron Quacks.
So objectives really going to be the name of the game from here on out. That means the survivability of the jungler is extra important, but Jinobu in a 1v2 will be able to get out there. Mid control going to be probably at the forefront of both of these teams' minds as they can get that. They can extend their influence to the rivers, get vision, and possibly look for some picks ahead of the objectives, Koryak. Like you said, it's about 35 seconds until the Dragon, 10 seconds until the Baron. I don't think either team really has enough damage at this point in the game where they can look for a trade, but maybe one team can attempt to threaten it and stall out for that dragon.
Almost 15k gold on the York. That is absolutely devastating when you compare it to the top carry on the other side. Look at Sivir sitting pretty close to about 13k, and I guess York sitting a little bit closer to 15k. That's absolutely devastating. York very much so is a raid boss and someone to watch out for, and Hoarder has been a consistent player, whether he's winning or he's losing. He's been someone to watch out for over and over and over, and I said I wanted to see him on macro, and we're seeing that right here. York provides so much of that. We might lose a Drake here in the background, but I would trade Drake for this Baron any day. Support on support action.
Yeah, Calculus getting
oh,
taken to about half by just the ghouls alone. Hoarder really is an issue, man. I mean, he's literally just dominating this game. He is taking this tower without a care in the world. That's the top lane tier 2 just down for the count. Adam is going to try and do a similar thing, but I don't know if any of Team B are in the vicinity to stop him. Actually, it will be Samikin who resets maybe to stop him.
Oh. Shimmer gonna get vision. Is it gonna be enough time? Yes, it will. Locking down the Pike. TP going to the other side there for York, trying to get a little bit of advantage at Pike. Somehow gets out
Baron
of
is being
the same
pinged, though.
cannot be said for Adam. Baron is gonna be started. They may have gotten Adam, but they might lose the objective for it. Pike does scout it out, but it's gonna be so hard for him to get close. We do have Jinobu. Jinobu can get a steal and find that number advantage, but the ultimate misses. Samikin here looking for a little bit. Nash trying to follow it up. Nash is sitting at about half HP. A lot of back and forth. The Zonya's gonna get popped. Trying to lock him down. Flag and Drag is not good. Cataclysm is, though, locking down Samikin. Samikin falling to pieces. Sivir doing a massive amount of damage. However, Ash is still here in the background. They at least have some support. Pike coming in, picking up kill after kill. Look at this damage. Back and forward, and that's a triple kill on Enthralled. The Baron may be on the map, but the bodies are on the floor, Quacks.
And now the Baron is up, like you said. Team B, and more specifically Rovex, stalled them out long enough, set them on a wild Pike chase to try and take him down. They found the play, they found the space, and now they will find the Baron. Hoarder takes a break from his split pushing and his minion chopping to assist his team. And Team B are running away with this game in the later stages of it.
I gotta say, I was so worried about Team B finding their voice in this game number 2, but I should have just shut up and watched the game happen, because this is quite the change. Ash has a lot of gold. Hoarder is still an absolute monster to deal with, and you can't ignore anyone on the side of Team B, because as soon as you do, Pike picks up a kill, Poppy finds a great stun, and your team just starts to fall to pieces.
It feels like this game is so difficult for Sushi to play now because Hoarder is just too tanky for you to deal with. Tahe is also kind of getting to that position, especially has the redemption, so a little bit of sustain in fights as well. And getting that backline feels so difficult when you have Rovex looking at every opportunity to try and pick you off, and all of this compounding, plus the fact that the Sivir doesn't have flash, it just means that Sushi's ability to, lay down those auto attacks is very limited. I think Team A, if they want to win a fight, they're going to need to find some other source to deal the damage or some creative angle to give Sushi.
Oh no. Cataclysm does pop. That's actually pretty good for them. Jinobu trying to buy themselves a little bit of time. That's a whole bunch of damage. It looks like Silas is going to fall with a good chunk of damage, but the same can be said for Hwei. Adam has to worry about it. The ultimate there for Hwei. Absolutely doing. Zonya's getting popped there on the other side. The absolute shenanigans back and forth. Jinobu somehow still alive. Is going to get taken down, but it might cost Shimmer them life as they go immediately into the play safe, getting locked down and destroyed. And that's a 1-for-1 trade. I expected more to fall apart, but most importantly, Baron is still on for the buff, which means we're going to have so much sieging power.
Yup, Shimmer is down. The main engage for Team A is gone, and now Minui trying to do the job for his jungler while he is away. Isn't able to do so, commits his flash, trades it for Enthralled. We can see Hoarder is providing so much pressure in the mid lane. Can Team B just try to find some sneaky play in the base?
Oh, escape down on top of Anui, locking him down, taking down the Pike. That's not what you want. I'm sorry, Pike actually picking up the kill, taking down the Bard, which is not what you want. Porter still taking a good chunk of damage, but he's still alive. Team B in absolute control over this as Enthralled goes in, but still gets taken down by Dr. Calculus. And now this is a 3v3, and I don't think they can continue this push. Somehow, Team A has managed to stay in this game, but what are they going to do with their time, Quacks?
There is a dragon up in about 30 seconds. Tahe is on the top side, but should be plenty healthy to go for that objective. I think if Enthralled finds that pick onto Sushi, they can legitimately look for an end to the game, but Sushi lives with just a sliver of HP. And that sliver of HP is the sliver of hope that Team A have in turning this game around, as all of their members should respawn by the time this dragon comes up. Adam going to be respawning basically at the exact same time, but does have the TP if a fight breaks out. But it's so difficult for them to approach this river. I mean, with Hoarder leading the charge and being the front of Team B, how are you ever going to get through him?
Art Ultimate coming down, but they're only going to find the Maiden, trying to lock them down as Shimmer gets absolutely nuked, sitting about half HP, but they can't spend too much time on him as Sandykin has to flash over to the wall to keep themselves alive. Pike picking up kill after kill, providing that damage to the knee. Bladescape down, trying to lock
they
down
got
Sushi,
him!
but Sushi locked them down with the Yorick instead, able to pick up a kill. Dr. Calculus into the Poppy as Samikin, Wayne chomping at the bits, looking for an angle, trying to take down Adam, and yes indeed, that's going to be a dead Silas, and this is the end of game number 3, and it's going to fall squarely in the hands of Team B, Quacks.
Team B, 2-1 on the day. And I gotta give so much credit over to Hoarder. He falls down in that last fight, but the split pushing, the pressure, it gave so much room for the rest of these Team B members to get their items, get their breakpoints, and they break Team A for the last time in this block, as they're just looking to pad the stats before the Nexus inevitably falls.
What a phenomenal, phenomenal game number 3, Quacks. My voice cut out more than a couple of times. I just was not expecting the back-to-back action. Was extremely thrilling to cast, and I don't even know what to add because I'm going to be processing it probably for the next 2 days.
Was a really good block. All in all, I think that basically every single one of these players showed what their strengths were. I mean, last time I was on the Saito Combine here, Koryak, I described Hoarder's side lane prowess and his ability to really maneuver those side lanes and apply pressure and absorb pressure along with it as kind of a double-edged sword, right? Where on one hand, when he's ahead in the laning phase, he is capable of, you know, pulling 2, maybe 3 members of the opposing team over toward him, and his team is able to make plays on the other side of the map. But on a bad day, when he is put behind in the laning phase, it kind of becomes him going up too far, just being a massive sack of gold. Today, though, was definitely the first one. He was ahead in the laning phase. He was pushing up. He was drawing so much attention from the enemy team that it allowed the rest of the members from his squad to get stuff done on other parts of the map. And that is Hoarder's biggest strength. And I really do think that he has carved out an identity for himself over the year that he has played in Tier 2 on conviction in specific, specifically, I should say. So really good stuff from him, really good stuff from everyone overall. I liked what I saw from basically every single player here. And yeah, really productive day, really fun day to cast some League of Legends, Koryak.
Absolutely. I had a blast on my end. Thank you so much to the players. Thank you so much to everybody putting all this together. Thank you, Quacks, for showing up and co-casting with me. It's been absolutely phenomenal. It's been fun. But keep in mind, we've got games just about, I think, twice every single day for quite some time. So there's plenty of action for y'all to catch up on. But I've been your host for the evening, Korak. He has been Quacks. We have had Wookie on production. And this has been the Path to Pro.